Welcome back to the Four Horsemen. Devin Nash joins us once again as a guest. Welcome, Mr. Nash.
Thank you.
Returning guest.
It's an honor to be here, seriously.
We've been trying to put this together for you guys for a while because Devin actually put out a lot of very interesting Twitch viewbotting information on Twitter/X/whatever you want to call it. So we did want to talk about platforms, especially as they correspond to creators and esports. But first up, before we do that, something very tragic happened in the last week that causes the esports community deep mourning, which is the death of TheScore Esports YouTube channel. And many people were sad about this. Many people were apparently very
some
sad.
would say. Gone too late.
Apparently, a lot of people got laid off. TheScore is actually killing its entire esports division. Reasons are opaque and unknown, but we're not going to talk about the reasons. We're going to talk about the effect that TheScore Esports had on the esports industry. And this may be a different tone than the reverence that you have heard it spoken with on social media. In fact, I would say this is much more similar to the Iliad. So at the end of the Iliad, Achilles takes Hector, attaches him to the chariot, and drags him around Troy. And it's very important to note that he was never punished for his hubris. That's where the Iliad ends. So no one knows what happens next. And we are definitely not Achilles in this metaphor. So let's take it. Why Thorin?
The difference is, though, in the end, he did give the body to Priam, who could then do the funeral rites. We're not going to do that. I hope they do just lay out as a corpse being picked apart by the fucking vultures and the thing, and I just look on and go, good. And I hope their soul, as a result, can never actually make it to any kind of an afterlife. It's just stuck in this realm, forced
there
to
were no
view
coins
and
for
observe
the boatmen.
everyone else's career. Exactly.
No coins for the boatmen for TheScore Esports. Now, why? Why would we take this very harsh approach, Thor? And when everybody else, they've generated, as they themselves say, hundreds of millions of views on esports content. So why is it that we feel no love lost for the demise of TheScore Esports?
Here's what's sad. I will actually offer a tiny olive branch to begin, because after that I will unleash an inferno of fucking hate against these motherfuckers. Basically, what the people who do TheScore Esports, I'm actually certain I know where they got the idea for how they do their content. Anyone who knows sports on YouTube will know there was a company called Secret Base. And if you've ever seen the model of how their videos, they would be sort of 4 documentaries. I say 4 because essentially it would just be like one guy clearly just looked up a bunch of newspaper articles and a bunch of clips from TV that he could get through the YouTube sort of like copyright thing. And basically he would just put together a narrative. And the reason why I say I'll offer this olive branch is this, Monty. I used to watch these videos. When it would be sports, I wasn't super knowledgeable, but like, I don't know, the NFL when I was getting into it. I would watch the video where it'd be like how this one, missed field goal caused the dynasty to collapse. And you're like, ooh, interesting. You got me with the clickbait. So you click it. And then look, sadly, it's not like a full-on ESPN production, like a 30 for 30. It's just some guy. It's always the same. It's always the same person's voice, where he goes, now I'm going to look into it, guys. You have a bit of him on camera. Then he just starts taking all the media he's found. He has a newspaper clipping. He has a clip from, the news where Joe Montana's talking or something. And what you do is when you watch it, cause it's like a 4 documentary, the less you know, the more excellent these videos are. You just go, this is fire. Like he's put together like a whole 15-minute video. I'd love to see about that. The sad thing is this, like that whole thing, what's it called? Like the something Geller effect, Max Geller effect or whatever. The thing where they say in a newspaper, when you open a newspaper and you come to a topic you know about, you'll go, what the fuck? This is all misrepresented and it's got all the facts wrong. But then the joke goes, when you turn the page, it's like it wipes your memory. You go to a topic you don't know about and you go, now let's get into the news. What's going on here? So basically, that's a long way to say I have directly been on the ground floor of this topic because TheScore Esports, if you remember, originally began as just one of those mega sites for journalists. It had Slasher and it had Travis and Kelsey Moser. In fact, famously, they wanted me to join this.
They actually talked to me early on as well.
Everyone
when
mates.
They launched.
Basically, the group who were on game is a bunch of them. Then were TheScore Esports. Then they were Yahoo Esports, and then they were ESPN. And they all went through all the big media companies came into esports and tried to do the mega sites with journalists. And basically, this is a key point to make. That model failed. That model can't work where you just hire like 5+ people on a full-time salary to essentially write like glorified news posts and articles about, like, people don't read in the same way as they used to like that before. You're not really going to get 200,000 views on an article like that. So sadly, in the end, that model didn't work. And what they did instead at TheScore Esports was they let all these really good people go. Is a bunch of people I've never heard of, and I've been around esports forever, essentially, and know a lot of people I have never even heard of as a fan. Some of them, as far as I know, even from the original, like TheScore. Like, I think some of them were from like the sports side, but maybe they were like producers or whatever, and they got the way in. They figured out the ultimate min-max for content, which is what I'm talking about. It's the secret base approach. What they would do is whatever was topical. So I'll give you an example. As of today, I can tell you what the next video would have been. It would be like, will AI beat T1 in League of Legends? That would be like the title. It'd be like something mega topical, something that everyone's seen on social media. And then what would happen is, again, 2 or 3 people, usually one person per topic, would make a little video where they'd just do like a 10, 15-minute video where they'd address that topic. The problem being, they were never actually experts. And so the joke was, in Counter-Strike, if anyone knows Counter-Strike specifically, most of the videos they did, because they were making them within a day, this is the min-max, they figured out you can churn these out in a day if you just do like 3 hours work for a 15-minute video. It won't actually be, if someone's an expert, super good. It'll be really basic. It's almost like a bad Wikipedia entry, basically. But if someone doesn't know anything, like I said before, the effect will be excellent. They'll be like, this is great. And I even saw back in the day, players used to big up these, like, wow, I've got a little documentary about myself. This is cool. And I'd be like, bro, just watch it. They get all the details wrong. So basically, the joke for me became, they not only, I'm pretty sure, did the same thing, just Googled, like, what topic's been written about this? They would obviously find my YouTube channel where I had 1 billion videos about every topic, and it's all just me talking to a camera. And initially, I could see, mate, some of these narratives, they were just lifting straight out of my videos, because sometimes I was like an iconoclast for some of these topics, mate. So that's when they'd give themselves away. They'd be taking like my narrative. It's like, mate, everyone hate that narrative. There's only me at that. And even worse, they got so lazy eventually, they just realised, why crib his video? Why not just show the video? So they would just start doing stuff. The worst one ever, by the way, because I had a fan, actually some nutter, using weaponized autism, my favourite superpower, actually went out there and made an Excel sheet where he logged like 100 instances or something of this. And the worst one ever, Monty, is I did an interview of Reflections with JW, and these motherfuckers might have used 15 different clips from this to make about 5 different videos about Fnatic and JW. And so I myself would be clicking, going, what's this fucking clickbait? And then I was in it, like as though I was part of the video. And they'd even do this thing where they'd put at the bottom of the screen, courtesy Thorin's YouTube. And it's like, no, actually, that isn't courtesy of mine. I didn't give any permission for this. And so a quick ending to the story, sadly, is I did actually try, like everyone's going to go, just copyright strike them, bro. Because we all know, as anyone who's watched LFN 4-player knows, if you even feature 1 second of the movie, you can just get your ass wrecked by the fucking movie company, can't you? Have all the copyrights. But sadly, as I learned, it turns out YouTube and Twitch also like min-max content that's very easy and generates a lot of hits. Because sadly, in that scenario, I thought I was a big YouTuber because I'm an individual. But compared to their company, mate, I was making a 100th of the views. And so sadly, essentially what I discovered was they wouldn't uphold the copyright strikes. They would just find any legal like vagary to get around it. And they were still allowed in theory to use all the clips. Although, by the way, once I sent 70 copyright strikes, Monty, they did stop featuring my videos after that. I'll give them that. You know, they sort of learned that part of the lesson. I noticed I never did appear on camera anymore. But essentially, that's the gist of it. That was the model they pioneered. And I have to say, look, if you ignore the fact that I think, sadly, the treatment of the actual material was very cynical, and sometimes people just weren't qualified to speak about these topics and got things wrong. Listen, if you wanted to make a lot of esports content that got a lot of views, bro, I don't know what their number would be, but I guarantee if you go to their YouTube, it'll be hundreds and hundreds of millions of views, man.
Yeah.
They had a lot of viewership. Like the average viewership, I think, was something like 300k videos. It was nuts. And so at a time, I can imagine when the ads market was different, you were probably making hand over fist with these like 5 guys that make all these videos. But it's implied to me in the modern day, it got spiraled out of control. You just can't make the money in the same way off that. I don't know what it is.
I think also, so you have to remember TheScore is a Canadian company, and they do a lot of sports coverage in North America in general, so that's why they spun out this division. So I think, Thorin, when they got rid of the initial group of esports people, they just replaced them with locals in Toronto, like people who are close by, who could work.
Some of them were just fans as well, mate. They weren't people from esports as far as I know. They were just fans of the game.
You know, they were people who could work out of whatever studio that they had there and their facilities.
A lot of people were on site as well, as far as I know. I think they all filmed
it seemed
in person.
everybody
no one was doing
was
it remotely,
pretty much.
as far as I know.
I don't know that for sure. Unlike TheScore Esports, I will just straight up say what I don't know.
Okay. Right.
But I mean, part of my frustration with them is that they would do videos on like OGN and the early parts of Korean League of Legends, and I would click on them and I would watch them, and they would just be factually incorrect to my own experience of having been at these matches. And instead of reaching out to people, they would just publish a lot of garbage that was wrong or very wrong characterizations of players in a certain era. And so they really have done undeniable damage to the history of esports.
I'll give you a funny one, Monty. Everyone will appreciate this because even people who don't know CS will know this one. The maddest one ever is Simple, the greatest Counter-Strike player ever. They made a video where, I'm not joking, it wasn't phrased this way, but the premise is Simple is shit at aiming. And what they did is they took a famous meme that fans took and ran way too far with, which is true, that when Simple's not actually like aiming at an opponent, he would often move in a haphazard way where he wouldn't do that thing, Monty, where you perfectly check every corner, right? He would sort of run in a weird way. But they took that and they were completely wrong because they didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. Essentially, Monty, they were cripping Reddit memes and making serious videos about this. And they made a video where they explained that he just they made it sound like he was so good that he wasn't never even aiming. He was just doing like a 90-degree flick on every shot. Now, what's sad, Monty, is we have tech in CS, this isn't 2001, where you can actually accurately measure how close is the crosshair to someone before they kill and stuff like that. And spoiler, I know it's going to blow your mind, Monty, Simple had some of the best stats ever at that fucking set of cross. So again, they completely mischaracterized, basically, by the way, the greatest player ever. And this was, by the way, I think in his peak when he was still the best. So if you're going to do that, that just shows to me there is no line. You'll just publish any old shit.
Yeah, and it was all very hyped up, and it did very well. They had a good subscriber base, millions of subs, hundreds of millions of views over the course of time. But it was really the quality of the content that was lacking, and it was doing just damage over time to the narratives of esports. And if you care about these things, sure, a lot of fans are just going to click on it and be like, "Ha, that was an entertaining video," and walk away and never remember a word that was said. But if you actually care about the legacy of this industry, they were quite harmful. And they weren't, it's not like these videos, by creating them, it was drawing more viewers to esports or anything like that. This was just rubbernecking basically from people who are not serious fans. Or it was people, serious fans, who would click on it and be like, what the hell? Why are you categorizing my game or my favorite player in this way? So it ended up being very weird. They were also, TheScore was also bought out. The entire Score was bought out by Penn Entertainment, which is the same entity that bought Barstool. They are a gambling company. And one of the things that I found curious was, if you're going to buy TheScore and you're going to buy, the Barstool, they later sold it back to Dave Portnoy because I guess they didn't find a good way to monetize it. Why aren't you actually pushing sports betting? Penn Entertainment was the one who was running ESPN Bet. They were the operator for ESPN's branded foray into sports
betting. As I know,
betting.
this is how Barstool made all the money. It basically was a content vehicle that drove you to the betting shit, right?
Yeah. That's why Penn Entertainment bought them. But then I guess it wasn't working so well or whatever, so they sold it back to Dave Portnoy. It was costing more money. But, in this example, perhaps I'm wrong, but I didn't see a lot of advertising for betting on TheScore Esports. I don't remember seeing any personally. Maybe they did run some.
Just a few point of information about the acquisition of Barstool and why it didn't work out, since we're on tangents.
I think it's relevant to this.
They bought it right at the start of the pandemic. Nobody was betting.
There were no sports to bet on.
Yeah, right.
Turns out.
So, yeah, you know what I mean. So that they didn't get off to a great start, and I think they ended up selling it back pretty quickly. By it was a couple of years later. Yeah. So I mean, so that's that. But also, just on about the Score Esports, I honestly think you do a form of kind of audience capture in a way, don't you? You get people interested in watching these stupid bite-sized videos that talk about epic moments in esports, and probably subliminally, maybe, you've got an app, do you? And what's on that? And you probably do go out and fucking think about placing a bet. They had 2.3 million subs on the YouTube channel.
And they want people to use the app in general. So TheScore has
that was what it was all about in the beginning. Yeah. I mean, when TheScore was sponsoring esports events, that was what we had to plug. Because quite famously, they fucking had a tantrum about me and Thorin making the plugs funny. We were fucking, we were doing the ad reads for a DreamHack, and they literally complained.
There was an ad where it was for Jurassic World. That's how old this was. It was 10 years ago.
I don't even think it's Jurassic World, mate. I think it might have been the reboot between.
Oh, it could have been. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. It was one of the Jurassic Park movies. And basically, by the way, we were actually trying to do what we do on LFN, like make it palatable and fun and have a skit with it, but get the information through. So what we were doing was every time Richard would start to do the ad read, we would all do that like da, 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 da. And then I was making like jokes like, well, speaking of bringing back dinosaurs that should have died out to extinction. What about Slasher? And then we got a note back like in between the next match and the following game, like TheScore Esports wish you to stop making jokes and also please do not mention Slasher at any point. Like, it was ridiculous, mate. It was like that fucking Simpsons thing, like where fucking Bart's on whatever it is, corner and he's like, only I made debts. Like,
it was also that shit. It was also when I realised DreamHack had changed because I got a dressing down for. They literally said, why can't you control Thorin? Why can't you stop him doing?
What an iconic line that is.
Well, my bad, I guess. So, silly
just
me.
Just bloody control him, bitch.
Just control him. So,
but I think
many have asked at this point in esports.
I think the question here about TheScore Esports demise is really like, how could a channel that is doing?
Oh, Monty, I'll tell you why though. If you look, the views went way down.
Sure.
Have you looked at the most recent videos, bro? They have videos with 20k, 28k views.
To be fair, and actually, this is something Devin can definitely chip in and about. Everyone's views are down. In fact,
I don't mean it specifically their shit. I mean, I don't think the business model works. If you instead click popular, bro, like the story of Shroud has 11 million views, mate. Like that's like those are that's numbers like a massive media company would dream of. So the idea instead, you now make a video and it gets 20k views. Yeah, you have to kick everyone out and fire everyone at that point. Sadly.
Yeah. I mean, I think now it's like if you look at the average channel, probably your videos are like a tenth of your subs. I
won't mention names, but there's someone in League of Legends, Richard, who did interviews who magically just disappeared for 6 months. They have their own reason and story as to why, but I can tell you the real reason. If you ever clicked on their channel, they went from having fake interviews that get 200k to I think they had one that got 8k or something like. Yeah. Again, same thing. You can't justify doing it as a business.
Yeah, I mean that's why I think when people are like attacking channels for like, oh, your viewership's down, the channel's dead, which is like such a fucking Zoomer thing to be focused on. It's like algorithmically, there's definitely something going on with YouTube the past couple of years where you just not have. But put it this way: if your media empire's cornerstone is YouTube revenue, like we're all fucked,
Well, especially if it's programmatic revenue. And TheScore Esports did have sponsors, but the problem is that because of their video length and style, they could get they were doing the YouTube thing of getting like one in at the beginning of the episode. And when we're talking about, I mean, what really surprised me the most about TheScore is that when they announced that this layoff had happened, that there were like 10, 12 people whose tweets I saw who were algorithmically fed to me that were like, this was my last day. They had something like a dozen full-time employees on this project, which for a channel of this size is insanity, by the way. It is insanity.
I guarantee as well, like they're all on those stupid, unjustifiable media salaries, right?
Well, everyone making 125k flat and shit like that, of course.
Like, I people are not going to like when I say things like this, but this is just business. Like, why is everybody full time? Why don't you have like freelance editors? You know what I mean? Who are doing video by video.
By the way, the obvious move, Monty, would be don't even have random people that you train up to do this. Just get people in the community who already make videos on YouTube. Pay that guy remotely to just make them for you for a fee. The model doesn't make. Again, here's the other thing, Monty. It doesn't make sense to pay that fee and then have someone come into an office. This isn't 1980. Like none of these aspects make sense in the business model. Well, it's a YouTube video.
And also, it was like all the tweets I saw were people who were like on camera or they were doing production or editing. And it's cool to have their studio and all that. But why why is it that we need to pay everybody full-time salaries to do this? It's not even counting like who is doing sales for them. It just felt like they were all front end and no back end. And perhaps that was the problem. Perhaps TheScore didn't give them enough support from the sales in order to justify the existence of this channel. But it is wild that you would have this many people necessary on full-time level, just as, as somebody who runs a company in this space, with just the possible revenue is basically like YouTube programmatic revenue, and you get millions of views, but if you can only get like one sponsor maybe per video, that's a rough model. What do you think, Devin, of this?
I think you nailed it. Like, content businesses are still businesses, and they're not treated as businesses by the people that run them. They hire writers, they hire producers, they hire researchers, but you need to be hiring sales, marketing, you need to be hiring outbound email guys, right? Like in a traditional business, you should be like 90-10 sales and marketing to content. And like Thorin said, you should just have people who are actually part of the community that are running the actual videos, the people that they actually want. So I think this is kind of a classic example of just a business that failed because they got too big too quickly. It was probably totally viable with the views that they had looking at the channel. I agree. Yeah, but they just went too big too quick.
Well, it's also
as in if you just had a skeleton crew, these numbers work completely.
Yeah, they work fine.
The odd video does get 200k. It's just you can't have 15 people on full-time salaries. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you just have to ask the question at a certain point as we sit here all in our respective homes on our webcams. Obviously, sure would be cool to have a studio. Would love that personally. But at the same time, like, is it really, what is the difference in views that this show gets if we put at a studio? Because I guarantee you it's not double the views.
That's nothing. Yeah.
Look, I think it would increase views. 10, 20% maybe, but the cost has to be justified in a certain way. And you could say, well, for branding, it adds this prestige, and maybe over time it like boosts the importance of the network. These are all true. And like, obviously I would love to do something like that. But at the same time, the justification for that cost is very different. And also, you also have to think about the budgets that you're attacking with this, which is that we at LFN activate podcast budgets, which are very different than YouTube like video budgets, which is what they were probably activating into. And the YouTube budgets are typically lower CPM. They're typically, they're very stringent requirements about those ad reads being upfront at the start of an episode, as opposed to in podcasts, it's much more anticipated to do mid-roll. I don't know what the retention is on some of these videos. I imagine it's good because the YouTube algorithm is like pushing them out. And certainly they were hurt by declining esports viewership across the board, just like we were, especially in League of Legends, guys. When Riot killed the LCS, so many English viewers left watching LoL content. And that affected us. It affected, I'm sure, them. It affected Riot's podcast. Like, look at the viewership of Euphoria and The Dive. Like, basically, the LCS rebrand, which we now know year over year collapsed English language viewership by 2/3, because we can see Riot's. I know, Devin, you probably didn't know that. We saw Riot's own stats on this not Riot stats, but the viewership stats. So English language viewership of last year LCS finals went down by like 60% compared to this year's LTA finals because they killed the LCS brand and people just left. Like, it was all it's all Brazilian now. It's all Brazilian now, Devin. That's
so brutal.
There was on the finals for summer, Devin, because by the way, if you guys don't know, Devin used to be the CEO of CLG, so he knows.
Yes.
The finals for LTA North had under 100,000 peak concurrent English language viewers on co-streams as well. Across everything.
Jeez, that's such a crazy decision that they did that for. When I saw that, I read it all. I was like, I just feel like people at Riot, they kind of like live in the Santa Monica bubble sometimes, where they're like, oh yeah, like we're so much more relevant and bigger than like we actually are. Twitch does the same thing. They like this, and then this kind of thing happens. The LTA made no sense to me.
No, it didn't make it. I mean, I think the concept made sense because like consolidating the competition. I think League does benefit from having good Brazilian teams, but they did
for sure.
They did 2 instances of cross competition. The way I wanted to see it done was that these teams were competing against each other every week. That gives the Brazilian teams a chance to improve. What they did, Devin, is they had like 2 playoffs, so they were competing for like a month out of the year, and the Brazilian teams were just mostly getting stomped. So it didn't do anything. And also, you didn't have to change the brand. Nobody said you need to change the brands at any point in time. You could literally just call them LCS. First off, I don't think CBLOL's brand is that important, but you could literally just call them LCS and CBLOL and just have them cross compete. Anyway, it's not. Did
that take the value of franchise teams in North America?
Of course.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, Devin, here's the thing. Nobody's talking about that because nobody can sell a team, because here's the thing.
Isn't it implied that's the real reason they reverted it, Monty, went back to the LCS? I always assumed as much.
I mean, possibly, but here's the thing. LCS teams were already selling for nothing because prior to this, Riot was having to buy back slots for $6 million that they had sold for 10 or 12 million. So nobody was purchasing the slots. Riot was having to buy them back for, pennies on the dollar. So
yeah, I remember that. I still know a bunch of the owners. It was just a mess.
Yeah. So, I mean, the question is, what is the value of an LCS slot? Apparently nothing, unless Riot is willing to pay you $6 million to repurchase it, because nobody else wants to buy one.
It's an industry-wide problem. Like it's just if advertising doesn't support the model, then the model doesn't work, and that's what ultimately came down to League. It just doesn't make sense to. There's no return on advertising spend in League. I mean,
I once ran the numbers, Devin, in 2023 when they did that LCS walkout, and it was something like franchises had invested between franchise fees and all the salaries, something like $200 million, and they'd made back something like 100 something million. Like, the numbers made no sense whatsoever. Bro.
Well, we were like selling sponsorships, and like we would get offers from like local sponsors for like maybe 150,000 to 200,000 a year, and I was paying my top players like 700,000 to 800,000 a year at that time, right?
Yep.
So like it just makes no sense at all. Yeah,
and that was there was academy players that made 100K, mate. None of
I was paying academy players 100K for sure. Yeah, and like it just comes down to like, even if we had 10 times those sponsorships, I mean, so like $1 million, $2 million a year, it wouldn't have been sustainable. You had to go on VC money, and that VC money was hoping that the audience showed up later and that the ROAS made sense. And it didn't. And a similar thing is happening with Twitch now, but that like people aren't really talking about. But
yeah, and so one of the things that we wanted to do here at LFN was to build an actual sustainable business around advertising, which we've done. You know what I mean? Like, we have no investors.
By the way, Monty, just for people who want to show that we practice what we preach, we don't get paid like 150K salaries, etc. Like, and we're the founders of the company. Like, that's what you have to treat it like a startup. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, we're totally sustainable at this point in time because we have a variety of sponsors, and you guys support those sponsors. So thank you, and also we continue to grow. But this is a very different approach. And I think when you look at TheScore Esports, back to my earlier point, when you're looking at podcast budgets, it's a very different advertising field than YouTube sponsorships, and much better, frankly. And so these are special budgets that are carved out, but because TheScore's content was never able to access that, and it's one thing to have, I think they were in a very awkward spot, is my point, which is that they're making a 30-minute video, but they can only get one sponsor because it's a YouTube sponsor. So they either need to go like shorter or longer. Like, I feel like the 30-minute video is such a bizarre length of YouTube video because it's neither like the 10 to 15 minute where you can bang out that sponsor and, do more in terms of volume. And it's also not a podcast. So it's hard to sell into podcast numbers. Like, you need it to be like an hour for it to be a podcast. So I felt
you're right. Like, if you're going to do 30 to 45 minute, you need to be community supported, like via Patreon or something like that. But to Thorin's point, because all the videos are clickbait and not information, there's no like community that really like goes behind it. So you're just in a weird space. You can't get supported by your community. You don't have enough YouTube sponsorship revenue. And if you expand too quickly, you don't have the views, then the actual advertising revenue doesn't make sense. Your company collapses.
Well, and also nobody really cared about TheScore Esports. Nobody was out there.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Well, because the information is
how
like,
many videos have I watched about TheScore Esports? You guys probably have watched a lot of videos about TheScore Esports who are watching this. Who's the host of those videos?
I'm not saying this to be rude,
what's the
Monty.
name
I was going to
of
say
the
the same
host?
thing. I've watched
don't
loads
know.
of them just to be annoyed, and I can't even remember the actual names of some of these people.
Exactly.
They didn't even have aliases. So,
Yeah.
They did a terrible job branding that aspect. I just knew TheScore Esports as a monolith, and by the
but-
way, spoiler, that's a problem in esports in general, Monty, which we haven't had with our company, because our company's branded around us, the personalities. If you just make it like, I'm ESL, no one's going to give like to a Patreon for ESL. They just seem like McDonald's, mate. It's like a mega company. Like there's no human connection there that I can have. There's no person I'm supporting. I'm just throwing my money into a void at that point, it feels like.
Yeah.
For sure.
And also, no, they could have created a separate imprint brand that wasn't the Score and still marketed the Score app, like, but maybe it would have been more effective if they had an actual identity, but they don't. And nobody even knows. I know the guy's face. I can see the guy's face in my mind, but I don't know who he is. I don't know what his name is. I don't think he was doing like a bad job in terms of delivering the information, but the personality really wasn't there because it was so highly scripted and they weren't using like a lot of, here's another problem. They weren't getting guests anymore. I mean, they used to get guests in the past, but we would know who these people were if we were invited onto their shows. And oftentimes, by the way, we would have got on there. Like TheScore has asked me in the past, and I have gone on their videos because they said, hey, we want to do this piece on, this final in Korean League of Legends history. And like Doe and I have done it. And most of the time people are pretty happy to give their time because we want things to be correct. And like, sure, we like the exposure to these big channels too, but they stopped doing that. So when you have no rapport with other people who have more authentic voices in the space, it becomes really weird. And honestly, like if TheScore Esports, all these people went and founded their own company tomorrow, it wouldn't be any different. Like I'm not mourning the loss of the TheScore Esports brand in any way, but I have trouble to believe that a lot of these people are going to be able to find work in the current esports environment. Unfortunately, even though I think their editors were good, as an editor, you're just given the content that you're given. Which is wrong.
The difference between those guys and all the people getting affected by the esports winter, though, is like the people that are getting wrecked by esports winter are endemic esports people.
Yes.
And they're not. They're just media twat tourists that, like, they're going to get another media job. They'll find some fucking startup where, everyone sits on fucking beanbags with MacBooks on the lap and, hey, want to play foosball? Anyone actually want to do any work? No, fuck that. Okay, cool. And it'll be in California and it'll go under in a year. And, just on that media merry-go-round. I mean, that's the reason no one remembers these people because, they didn't come up in the space, right? So, I mean, like, for them, I think, like, I was amazed it took them as long as it did for them to fall. I would have thought they would have been one of the first casualties of the esports winter. And they should probably feel very grateful that they were propped up by clearly a wealthy parent company that was willing to like give them 18 months to 2 years to essentially turn the corner on what was a dead model. I mean, like, think about where are all the big esports media websites these days?
That's the point. They're dead, mate. Like, I agree with you, Richard. I'll actually, even though it sounds harsh, guess what? Fuck these people. They were vultures on my own content. Well, and also, by the way, here's another thing that didn't work with how they did it. Because they were from that sort of like, almost like fucking hipster, edgy, IPA drinking fucking crowd. Being in Greenwich Village is the place to be, mate. It's the hotspot. Because they were doing all that shit, bro. They also had this angle where the snark was intolerable when you don't know the topic. Like, I'm sorry, me and Richard can call Zeus, the fucking in-game leader of Na'Vi, a brain-dead dickhead because we know things he's done privately. They did a video where their documentary about Zeus was called The Most Brain-Dead Mastermind. Right, Monty, that makes it sound like he doesn't even know how to call in the game and he doesn't even know like functionally how to play the game and he's some sort of like Forrest Gump character, which is an absolutely ridiculous characterization. He was actually a really good tactician in CS. So on that topic, yeah, I actually hate that aspect. Like, it's nonsense. And I would say this, I agree with you, Richard. If anything, these people shouldn't be more than the idea they've lost their job. You should actually feel blessed because if you were one of the original people who were there for 10 years and you were really on anything approaching like a $100,000 salary, bro, you got paid $1 million to make shit clickbait videos about YouTube. I can't even troll and say I've done that. I haven't. Like I'd have to take every event, every sponsor. Like that's actually crazy. By the way, no human will ever do that again in esports. Get $1 million to make shit clickbait. Like that's I would feel lucky if you were in that position for real. You'll never get that job again either.
Yeah.
Like Richard says, you'll be off on some metal blog now or some fucking shit.
Exactly.
About
They'll be doing like
Zoomer
listicles
culture.
for
Absolutely.
fucking Collider or you know what I mean? Like and look, you know, power to them, man. People like that content. They click on that content. Not because it's informative, but people like to say, I would have put that on my list. That's all it is. It's like it's slop for morons. And they were very good at that.
It gets weird when you start like a media company and now all of a sudden you're like a group of people making videos and stuff like that. Like at CLG, we were trying to crack the content code and I always failed at it. We would spend like $10,000 for a video sometimes. And like you just like nobody cares. There's no like return on it. You have really good production quality. You kind of have your head about all these ideas and everything, but it doesn't match that individual content creator energy when you have just like someone like Thorn just sitting there ranting. Everyone's like, yeah, that's like authentic. I know the guy. Like I get it. And like people respond to that. And I think like the score just kind of got too big in its head for that. They're like, oh, like we're this media company, but we saw that with so many of these like media conglomerates that thought that they could do that, right? But they lose that authenticity of of an individual.
Well, that's because they just
that's why we can't remember anybody.
I think you're right.
They don't spend in the right spaces, though. It's the thing is like the production quality is always secondary to the ideas and the content quality, and in a lot of these places, instead of empowering the people who already exist with additional
you get black magic
value.
Cameras, you get like
By the way, unironically, I'm not joking. At the right point in time, you could have literally hired Monty and Richard and people like that. Sure. They would also have done this, better versions, but their own sort of content. But that's the other thing they never did. And also, notice they did the classic esports mistake, which is when times are going well, just spend all the money on hiring loads of people. And then you don't just get to go, guys, we're just going to scale it back. You have to go, sorry, 95% of you are fired. Like, you have to do those crazy esports engine ones where it's like, we're hiring 1,000 people a year later. Everyone's laid off. It's like, why didn't you just hire 200? What are we doing here? What is this?
Think about all the other companies we've seen come and go, like fucking Ven. Right? We covered that. Like, I feel like I'm missing a few.
G4.
G4, there you go. And it's like,
CLG.
At least you had a team attached to it and stuff. And it's like, it's a bit of a different game. But yeah, I also think there's a real pressure when you're in esports org, like you say, to make that compelling content because the reward is if you can capture something that makes people identify with the team and the brand. They feel that affinity, they stick around, they watch the games, they buy the merch. But often, a lot of really good content kind of fell by the wayside of no views in esports.
By the way, you could even argue, Richard,
as well.
That's not even a bad example. Think about how CLG and TSM initially became huge. It was with huge personalities. It was all about driving people to the stream. And you weren't really, here's the thing, you were never really a fan of TSM. You were a fan of Reggie or The Odd One or fucking Dyrus or Hotshot or Saint Vicious or Double Lift, whoever it was. The problem is when you then just become, we're a sports franchise. And like you say, you might, by the way, I'll guarantee the video you paid the 10K for was way better than like a Hot Shots clip. But the problem is it didn't have that connection, did it? Like you say, it's just, you're throwing it out there. It might get 100K views, or it might get 5, and you might be really sad. You never know.
Yeah. 100%. It's happened a bunch. But yeah, sort of to bring it into the main topic, I think you have to recognize, and this is why I think Deserto missed the trick, but Deserto are one of the media companies that have actually survived. They've survived through esports winter. Do you know how they survived through esports winter? They pretty much laid off the hardcore esports staff. I quit, left on good terms. Lewis Mira went
The joke is, Richard, they did their own version of the score. They used to literally, the difference is, they did the one step I said the score didn't. They did hire me and Richard.
Yeah.
And then what they did, in my case, Monty, was they had me do these sorts of documentaries that were pretty good. And then they one day just realised, why pay him? Why not just have a guy that does it sort of like 60% as good, but doesn't have the same fee? And then they just found a way, and they did the same thing as the score. They just generated a billion videos where I would have taken a week to make one.
I can even tell you, Devin, when I knew the writing was on the wall and the right thing to do was to stop taking their money and just negotiate leaving, I interviewed a guy that was claiming to be a whistleblower about match fixing in Counter-Strike. Turned out to just be a psycho, right? But whatever, you do your due diligence. I prepared this insane 4-piece article. It was probably all put together about 12,000 words. Took me about 2 weeks to get it all cobbled out, researched all of this stuff. I got doxxed while I was doing it. I had to snap a fucking SIM card. It was a whole fucking palaver. And anyway, I was really happy with it. I thought it was a great story, great piece of journalism. Deserto published it. I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. You know, could get nominated for an award for this. Anyway, right? Total number of clicks per article, probably about 5,000 on each chapter. It was split into 4 pieces.
Which does mean, Richard, as you just suggested earlier, someone else could have just done the article, the listicle, top 10 T1 players at Worlds in half an hour, and it would have got more
this
views.
is the point. This is the point. The same day that I checked in with them and I said, how many views did all of that get? And they were like, well, you know, probably about 20,000 over the course. And then some of those people are probably the same, so whatever. They'd published an article. Amaranth had just announced that she was putting a vaginal yeast into a beer.
Perfect. Man, that's like some Monty Python shit, and that would be the actual comparison point.
And
as well.
the news article about that got 3.5 million clicks.
I know. Why?
And I'm just like,
mate.
you know what, guys?
I love it.
I can't. This is fucked up. I can't do this to you anymore. Like, this is really bad. So like we sort of negotiated. Like, listen, we'll make this your last month and all that. But this is how they pivoted to the influencer shit. And the influencer shit generates all the fucking views and the clicks, and that enabled them to like do the other stuff. I even pitched to them. I pitched. But it was before the Trump ran for the re-election. I said, like, you know, with all the 2020 shit that kicked off, probably it would have been for 24. I said, here's what you should do. You should create Deserto politics. And you should hire some, like, you know, crazy fucking political writers and focus on that. And that will, if you think the influencer shit is generating clicks, the politics stuff drives everybody fucking crazy. So that'll be clicks through the roof. And they didn't go for it for whatever reason. Maybe it would have fucked with advertisers, as Twitch are finding out. But anyway, yeah, I mean, you know, they had to pivot to survive. And they did the right thing. Like, you know, a pure esports media company, you're going to fucking struggle. Yeah. It doesn't matter how many clicks you get. Ultimately, spoiler, you don't get many. It's just really hard to monetize because a lot of people, Devin knows, he knows who I'm talking about. A lot of people really killed the fucking goose that laid the golden egg on that, man. When esports was the investment word and people wanted to throw fucking money at you. Well, a lot of people that took that money and just wasted it. And now you say esports. Well, if it ain't AI or Web3, motherfuckers don't want to know.
The Four Horsemen is brought to you by Prize Picks. And now that we've got the NFL season rolling, we've got the NBA season rolling, we've got the NHL season rolling, and of course, esports tournaments, particularly the major in Budapest, it's a great time to play along with some daily fantasy on Prize Picks. It's really easy to play. All you do is pick more or less on 2 different players' stats, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. What does this mean? Well, in Counter-Strike, you might, for example, pick whether a player is going to get more or less kills than the stated number, or more or less headshots than the stated number on a given map, or 2 maps in the case of a best of 3. So you'd say, they think they will get more than 16 kills on maps 1 and 2. Pick another stat for a different player, or headshots for that same player, and you could win. For the NFL, could be anything from yards that a quarterback throws to points for an NBA or NHL player. So it's quite fun to go ahead and play along. You can get action on football, basketball, esports events in more than 40 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. It also offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. So, for example, if you want to pick more on Steph Curry's points, 3-pointers, and assists, you can pick all of them in the same lineup, and that is only on Prize Picks. You can also follow other players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. So whether it's a friend or a celebrity or just somebody you found who's right more often than not, all you have to do is follow them and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. So you guys can download the Prize Pick apps today and use code HORSEMEN, plural, HORSEMEN, to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code HORSEMEN to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, let's let's switch over to the Twitch viewership thing because I want to get Devin involved with some of this. So, Devin, can you describe the Twitch viewbotting scandal that, as far as I'm aware, is still happening despite the announcements? So, what is the status of Twitch as a platform these days? Because the viewbotting is rampant among creators. We'll talk about instances how I know, especially with Overwatch League, that esports orgs have also and tournaments have also been viewbotting. And what is Twitch's response to the viewbotting that is being alleged, and how is it affecting the platform? Because this for you, those guys who are unaware, like the viewbotting, people do it to boost their rank on Twitch because there's no natural discovery besides like who's on top or who has more viewers when you open the category on the platform. But the problem is, and Devin was in sales for advertising, this fucking creates an insane amount of noise for advertisers because they can't know what's real on the platform. So it makes it very hard to spend. So what is the status of the viewbotting, Devin? How are people doing this?
Okay, so hopefully not too long of an answer, but basically
as long as you need, brother.
Yeah,
This is the spot for that.
And also, technically, people can go and watch a YouTube video for any extra details. So just
that's a good point. I don't even know if I have a YouTube video on this actually, because this kind of happened
you did one 2 months ago, didn't you? Didn't you do one like the
I did a long thread kind of like on Twitter, so I guess that'd be worth reading if people are really interested in this. And so like the kind of TLDR is like for the last, so I started in the esports world, I went into the talent agency world, and now I'm in the brand world, which kind of means that I'm kind of in the back end. But over the last like 2 or 3 years, I've, on behalf of brands, I've been spending literally millions of dollars a year in advertising. And so a good portion of that was on Twitch. And what we noticed around like 2023 was like the return on advertising spend. It's called ROAS. Basically, what do you kind of get back in terms of like what you're spending on your brands for Twitch was like really abnormally low. And like compared to every other website we're spending on YouTube, TikTok, and like Instagram everywhere. And I was like, okay, well, why is this? And we had a technology we were using that for like our major brands where we would capture what is happening in Twitch chat. We just to get sentiment analysis and all kinds of cool stuff like that. And we're like, okay, why don't we repurpose this and figure out like what's going on? So we tossed the bot that we were using in the top 15,000 streams of Twitch, and we started just running it and seeing what was happening for about from about 2023 to like the end of like quarter 3 2025. And we noticed that the IVS rates, so invalid traffic, IVT rates, like are way higher. Like typically on like Google, you would get like 10, 11% IVT, and the IVTs on Twitch are, so I'll give you the actual numbers, are as of right now, 39.6% on Twitch. So when I posted this,
40% of viewers are bots.
40% of viewers are not real in some way. They're not human. They're either bots or they're embeds or they're kicked off from another website, or they're not logged in, or they're not active users. But 39.6% of and I have to be really careful, so I'm going to say allegedly, but as a guy that has spent hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, these are advertised impression views. I've had that fight with some of the Twitch guys on X. They're saying that these views don't get pushed to advertisers. It is my strong belief, based on a lot of the work I've done, that they do get pushed to advertisers. So I think that 39% IVT is really high. Then we got
hold up.
I got challenged on this a bunch.
About Twitch knowing this, just give me one moment. So Twitch, for you guys, they didn't know, they bought the Curse network, and then the Curse network would have embeds of Twitch streams at the bottom, and Twitch themselves were selling people, especially like tournament organizers. They sold this to the Overwatch League, for example. They sold embeds at the bottom of Curse sites. Okay, so it's not just that Twitch knew and knows. It's that they were
themselves offered the service. Yeah,
they were offering the service. So continue. I find it difficult to believe they would not know.
I think they do, and I think so. We got a lot of pushback on this. A secondary agency named Vadra, and they have an X post about this with their findings. Did a 50,000 person stream analysis with 4,500 creators and found within 0.2% our exact data. Totally separate study. like just as legit as the one we ran. So they came up with 39.6% Twitch and 68.7% Kick. Kick is a whole nother conversation, but so anyway, like I think the thing that people listening to this would be interested in is why is this happening? Is it just people that are viewbotting their own streams? Is it things like that? And the real answer, and something I've never heard discussed, and I didn't put in my post, is that it's the agencies. So what's actually happening is that the people that are really smart in the talent management world and in the brand world have figured out that you can just you can push these views and not get policed. Twitch doesn't police any kind of view botting, and their justification for that is that you can't prove that it's the streamer that's doing it. Maybe it's like a malicious person that's doing it or something like that. And we could get in a long tangent about that. But because of that, agencies have realized, okay, I can bot a stream 30 to 40% viewership. I can then sell a sponsored deal against that for $2 to $3 CPM for those viewers. And I literally print money and nobody enforces it and nothing happens. So the major agencies that are at the top of Twitch right now are mostly view botting their top streamers. And so that is why sorry, real quick, an interesting stat. In the top 500 streams, 410 of them are view botted. Not necessarily by the people that are the individuals, but in many cases they are, but by the agencies. That's the real story here.
Right.
Yeah. And the agencies, by the way, if they do this to their entire client base, so they have a lot of stable of streamers and they viewbot them all, then they can sell blanket deals across all of their package deals with major blue chip advertisers.
And the hilarious thing, Monty, is that they're all doing this through AWS instances. They're just booting up AWS instances and duplicating the viewership in a hilarious circle jerk between the IVS and AWS. It's all coming back.
So Amazon makes money both ways, of course. So they're not going to.
Because the cost of hosting these bots and it's not insignificant. Like it's like several $1,000s a month, and that's why like a lot of the time people are like, oh, this like small guy is like viewbotting the stream for 2 years. Like probably not. Because they are quite expensive to run.
You made a point in your thread that I think is very pertinent here, because if someone's thinking, why the agent do it though? You know, wouldn't it make sense for the streamer? No, one point you made out from knowing agencies is because the agency does the brand deal. Yeah. You said that they'll do the brand deal. Then they'll like, essentially, the streamer doesn't know what the brand deal is. They then go to the streamer, and let's say it's a 10K deal. They go, great news, I've got you 5K a month. They just skimmed 5K straight off that. So they directly benefit from this viewpoint. It makes perfect sense why they would do it. Sadly, Devin, they're not policed.
And then they take 20%. So the deal they have officially with the streamer is the 20, right? So they say, hey, I take 20% of your revenue for every deal we bring, but then I bring you the 10K deal. I tell you it's 5. I take 20% of the 5, and then I take the 4 off the top or whatever it is.
You have to take back your costs for viewbotting first. That only makes sense. Right?
Yeah. So
my like promotional fees have been deducted already.
It's really crazy because people that like people think that like the viewbotters are like a couple of the people like Kai Cenat, for example, who are like literally holding up the platform right now. Like they're very legitimate creators. And people are like, oh, that guy's like being viewbotted. But meanwhile, we've got like half of OTK viewbotting and like nobody talks about it. Right? Like it's crazy. Like people, the way that people think viewbot distribution works and like is like just follow the money. Like follow where the agencies are and like who those people are supporting. And then, you know, you can just go on Twitch Tracker or something and look at like these people, their viewership was like at most like 400, 500, 600 viewers. And like over the course of a month, they just spiked to like 20, 30K. Like it's so obvious, right? But I don't know. Like
also the viewership. By the way,
the scary part of this. Oh, go on.
The viewership graphs are like with the viewbotting because they know nobody checks, so nobody even cares. So I mean, XQC has been pointing this out too, where it's like the viewership graph is like turn on stream goes to 20K, flat lines at 20K for 4 hours, turns off, which is not how any like if you've streamed, you know, as we all have, that's not how shit works. You turn it on and
every
like
single game
goes up. Yeah.
So just chatting,
no matter what,
you can
no matter what you're using.
Final Fantasy X from 30 years ago, they're like rocking 25,000 viewers, no problem. Like just absolutely no variance in viewership. Yeah. And so here's the thing: it's like so advertisers, like we're not stupid. Like we knew this, right? So I'm spending so Twitch is in a very interesting category because it's what we call an experimental budget. So if I have like let's say my average deal value is about $1.5 million in my agency, and so like when I'm running that, about 7% of that is going to be experimental budget, which just means like, let's throw that at something we're not sure is going to work and then see what happens. And maybe we'll get like a VC level ROAS and like, it'll be super cool, like some 11-to-1 result and like, it'll be amazing. So Twitch is always our experimental budget. And like back when I started the agency in like 2022 or so, we were literally spending like 80-90% of our revenue on Twitch. By 2025, that was like less than 5%. but just because of the way the advertising model shifted, and like serious advertising agencies have all looked at Twitch now, and we've been through it. That's the thing, is like IPG, Omni, like all of the big advertising agencies and the people that I partner with, we've done Twitch. I think people don't realize this, that like Twitch and esports, you guys all will remember this, had this like new car smell where advertisers would come in and say, oh, what's this? Like, let's get a feel for this. Like, is this gonna work? This is kind of awesome. Well, we've tried it. Like, we've been at Twitch now for 5 or 6 years. We know the return on advertising spend there doesn't make sense, so we don't pay. And that is not even considering like the real story, which is the Twitch adpocalypse thing that like happened. That like for some reason, like I think that like when it happened to YouTube creators are kind of more tuned into the space and they kind of understand. No one at like the Twitch streamers like have no idea like why their advertising revenue dropped 40-50% in the last like 3 or 4 months, right? And so I think this combination of things, the ad pressure and the Twitch viewbotting, just made the whole website kind of start like in a real death spiral. Like, I mean, it's losing like 10% viewership like over the last 6 months. Probably will lose like 15% viewership, this year.
I mean, the thing with Twitch is, it's like, by the way, I don't know how Dan Clancy still has a fucking job. It's actually insane to me. I can't think.
We can go through that.
I mean, no doubt we will touch on it
if you want.
But I can't think of like a CEO coming into an Amazon property, and it's like all the things that you know, all the metrics you would judge success by have all objectively gone backwards for Twitch, like number of active users, the viewbotting problem, attendees at TwitchCon, advertisers pulling out. Obviously, I did some reporting about that back when it was predicated on the anti-Semitism thing. Yeah,
you were like one of the really legit people. Just want to like give you a little bit there. Like, you were one of the really legit people in the Twitch ad thing. Like, you were one of the only people. I saw a bunch of people dogging you. I jumped on Twitter. I'm like, no, Richard like is one of the only people that knows what he's talking about here.
Well, what happened was, because it was all kind of like, so obviously like Dan Saltzman, like Destiny's colleague that, you know, he works with him on the podcasts and stuff. I think that's still true. I haven't.
No, he dropped that because.
Oh, okay.
But I have a video called "The Man at War with Twitch," and people don't realize that like Dan Saltzman kind of individually like destroyed such a huge percentage of Twitch's advertising budget. It's actually insane.
Oh, I have no doubt he made a dent, because when you know, when I was told, when I said, okay, Dan, you know, I've known Dan a while, I'll take a look at it. I reached out to a bunch of people in Twitch, and like the people I was talking to were like, oh yeah, this advertiser's pulled out, and people were saying, oh, Richard's just making it up. He's like friends with Destiny and blah blah.
They told me the exact same thing.
And then it was like, it was all vindicated, because I think Cecilia D'Anastasia did a report. I didn't name, because I was trying to protect sources, I didn't name some of the companies. I think I named exactly one company, and then that was verified by someone else's reporting, and then everyone was like, oh, well, they're saying it now, so it's like, no, I was right. And he definitely made a dent, and that was just predicated on the anti-Semitism stuff. Even Amazon got brought in over that. So there was that. That was before the viewbotting thing. Then we've had the TwitchCon issues. You've got the number one Twitch streamer on the platform is just literally running terrorist propaganda. You've got Congress, like members of Congress, like Richie Torres, writing letters saying we're going to haul you in front of a committee, which is happening. All these tech companies now are going to have to answer for like anti-Semitism and terrorist propaganda on their platform. And meanwhile, Dan Clancy is doing what exactly? Looking at fucking Kuma streams. It's
can I unpack this for a second?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I think there's a big misunderstanding. So I worked at like with Twitch and Amazon sales team directly to like do advertising spend. And when I was in talent, I like never like made this connection. And then when I got to brand advertising, I was like, oh, like Twitch is not a social media platform as far as Amazon is concerned. Yeah, what do I mean by that? So Twitch is actually a backbone for a system called IVS, which is a hosting service essentially for live streams. You can go see it. You can just type Amazon IVS, and what it is it's Twitch's backbone, advertised to mostly like churches and like people that want to run their own like live streaming service, and it's very successful, right? So the main group of people that run Twitch now, and it's worth noting to Richard's point that I think one thing that's another massive aspect of this is just the sheer number of layoffs that have happened within Twitch. In 2022, Twitch had 2,500 employees, but since then there was a 400 person layoff in 2023, another 400 person layoff in 2024. In October, just last month, they dropped 35% of their company. So who's left is mostly engineers. The partnerships team was 200 people, and now it's less than 10 now, right? So what's happened is Twitch and Amazon views Twitch, I think, correctly. For if I think about Amazon's executives and like how they're thinking, they're not idiots. Like, right? They're viewing it as a sort of kind of live test for how live streaming platforms work for other people, and you can kind of go see what their technology is doing. And the whole acquisition was a technology play. They're doing it because they want it to work up on the back of QVS, which is their like live streaming service for shopping and that sort of thing. Amazon has no real interest beyond Prime Video as a social media platform. They don't care. They're a CPG brand. They sell stuff on they sell books. They sell cookies. They sell stuff, right? Like they don't care about. So like whenever everyone's like, oh, why is like Twitch not doing anything? Why is it not acting in the same way as like a platform like TikTok Live, which is like crushing it, or like like YouTube, for example, right, which has significantly more market share than Twitch now? The answer is because Amazon doesn't monetize that way. They don't have an advertising network like Google does with AdSense. They're a engineering brand. So Dan Clancy is an engineer, and he's being evaluated on the basis of how well his technology is performing, which is the CDN is great. The CDN is great. The content delivery network is great. Like everything works, right? They added,
and it synergizes with their server.
Yes, and they're adding technology to it. If you look at all the changes within Twitch in the last couple of years, it's Twitch Rewind, it's stuff like that. It's all technology stuff, right? Like there's nothing for content creators because they don't care about the content creators.
Well,
like
they also fell really far behind on the algorithm. I mean, just our anecdotal.
There is no algorithm.
Yeah, exactly. Our anecdotal. Our anecdotal experience at LFN has been like, we don't care about Twitch because we don't run that many live shows.
There's no discovery.
But even when we do run live shows, most of our viewership's on YouTube now. Like that. I mean, that's just how it is.
The craziest thing I think I ever saw Dan say was like he came up at I think this was the 2 TwitchCons ago, or 1 TwitchCon before the last one, and he was like, we haven't updated our mobile app in 7 years. Just outright, do you remember that? Like he just outright said that on stage, and I was like, holy shit! Like that's like crazy, and it just like it's indicative of Twitch as a discovery platform, as a platform for like for live streaming, has been beaten out by TikTok Live, YouTube, which are I think people still remember a time when Twitch was 70% market share. It's 14.6% of the market according to Stream Charts today. So YouTube runs about 48%. TikTok runs about 31%, and Twitch runs about 14%, about 15%. So like the platform looks and feels to us with these big streamers like it's alive, but I mean it's a shadow of its former self.
Yeah,
it's also it's also the millennial platform. Like it's not Gen Z's platform, right? And a lot of the millennials, I would say, have aged out of watching game streams, at least live for the most part, or they switched over to YouTube because YouTube, I mean, if once you get old, guys, you don't care about Twitch chat anymore, and YouTube is just a better streaming experience, just straight up.
And it's just too hard to follow. Like the big a really big stat on Twitch that always stuck with me was the average watch time per user, which is around 108 minutes. So compare that to about 48 minutes for a YouTube person, meaning that like the dedication and the investment that you have to be a Twitch watcher is so dramatically larger than watching video on YouTube or being a part of TikTok. And that's why you kind of only produce these like very dedicated parasocial kind of sorts that will like really be oriented towards it. The other ones kind of, like you said, they age out. And so Twitch was never able to like break out of that. And to Richard's point, got just infinitely worse by platforming politics, man. Like that if you want to really just take it from the advertiser, if you want to really nail down why Twitch, I think, went south, it was the platform of extremist content. That made me as an advertiser and every brand I know say, we're good. Like we're out. Yeah. I don't want my brand friendliness is like, I know it's like memed in this. It's a real thing, right? Like we don't want our CPG brand to be alongside a a talk about ISIS, even if the talk is negative or positive, just don't talk about it, right? Like,
and the old Michael Jordan thing, Republicans buy trainers too, right? You don't want to be a divisive figure.
Except that we don't want to sell ISIS trainers. we don't want to sell ISIS things. Do want to make that abundantly clear.
And I think the real conversation is like the big difference. People are like, well, the thing that everyone always says is like, well, YouTube has all that stuff. No, YouTube has ad segmentation. That is the huge difference. So if I advertise on Twitch, I am always advertising to the lowest common denominator streamer, the worst streamer on the website, because ads are distributed evenly. So what you can't distribute as an advertiser, we're white glove. So I have to contact Twitch. Good luck, and get a relationship with them to pay any kind of money for advertising. There's no system like AdSense where I can throw $500 or $500,000 and be done with it, right? So I have to white glove with them, and then my ad segmentation choices get displayed across the entire website. I can kind of tell them that I don't want like hot tub stuff, and they'll be kind of okay, but the ads will still sort of appear. So at the end of the day, if I'm Chase Bank and I advertise on YouTube, I can be very confident that the ads that I display will never be attached to extremist political content if I select that way. But on Twitch, it's guaranteed. That's the problem. There's no with ad segmentation, we would have been able to do this. You could have Hassan, you could have all the other guys, you could have everybody, right? But because Twitch never built that system, they had 7 years to do it. That is really the downfall of the website. And we can't advertise until they fix it. That's why I've said, and even like political commentators like Asmongold have said, like, we should make Twitch a gaming website. like go all the way back around, right? It's like a crazy take, but like my position is that's the only way to fix it. And if you want to ever get advertisers back,
I'm kind of conflicted on that, and I'll just give a bit of.
It's controversial, sure.
Yeah. No. But I have no doubt that you're right that it would fix it from an advertiser perspective and make it so we could make more money again on the platform. It would certainly fix a lot of the problems when it comes to moderation. Probably make everyone's life a little bit easier. I was one of the people back when me and Stephen were doing a podcast. He wanted to talk more and more about politics on that podcast. But I mean, I remember back in the days where the joke was the first politics channel on Twitch was the Hearthstone channel. Because the Hearthstone players would queue for so fucking long between games. Chat would ask them, hey, what about this? What about that? And they'd have all this time to talk. And people were like, wow, this is kind of cool. Getting like the opinions of like, Amaz or, whoever it might be. And so there was this appetite for it. And I was one of the people saying Twitch should be treated like public access television. Like any crazy kook can go on and have a show, and you get you've got your time, and you just talk about anything you want to talk about. Because we had all these insane rules. Like it was like there must be 1 hour of uninterrupted gameplay. You may take a break for 15 minutes and talk to your stream, but then you have to go back. You can't gamble on stream. Remember these rules, Devin.
I got dinged because I was dancing on stream.
There you go.
I used to be a competitive dancer when I was way younger, and I would dance on stream for donations. This is. Yeah. It's not. The people are like, oh, well, you've gone so far. Not really. I'm still kind of dancing for donations at CLG in a different way, right? But the partnership manager. I got an email, Richard. Like they were like, hey, you're dancing. Like you got to play games. That was actually real rule.
To play games. And so
the obvious topical tie-in here is that tweet everyone dunked on recently by Pokimane, where she was sort of like, why are we just doing like drama and stuff? Like, let's get back to games. It's like, have you even played a game in about 10 years? Like, you are like just chatting to fucking like poster girl. Like, what is this? Like, I agree. Like, the joke would be, Asmongold's nailed it, mate. He wants to just show World of Warcraft again, not fucking his next take on politics.
I think, by the way, Pokimane is like one of the best rage baiters right now, like out there. Like, she's so good at it.
Yeah, she's nailed the formula, dude. But here's the thing. Like, I'll also give the flip side to that coin. Like Asmongold is saying, let's make it a gamer platform again. And everyone's going, yeah, stunning and brave. He loses like half of his audience conservatively. Like I think a lot of people are there now to hear his takes on certain issues. One of the things I think is it's not so much politics that has become the problem. It has become this cyclone of bullshit that comes with it, which is, if you have an audience that wants you to say things that they like to hear, there's always that temptation to just push it a little bit further. So, it's like, well, did you see that police officer involved shooting the other day? You look around. ACAB. They're all bastards, right? And then everyone in chat goes, yeah, the donations come in, the subs come in. There's a post like Hassan says, fucking everyone's ACAB, using you as an example. Don't know if that's his real opinion. Probably is, whatever. And then more and more people come into the stream. But then the problem with that is he hasn't said ACAB for a few days. Well, you know, what's up with that? And then it's like, you know, my favorite flag is the Hezbollah flag, you know, and it keeps going and going and going and going till you get to and then people take a clip of that and then they react to it going, well, I think that's a disgrace. I think if Twitch had any sense, they'd ban Hassan. And then Hassan reacts to that clip. Suddenly you're 5 webcams deep in this fucking infinity chamber of webcams of people reacting to clips, more and more extreme opinions being voiced. And it's like, why the fuck would an advertiser go, that's exactly where I want to put my brand?
The entire system feeds itself. Yeah. Everything, and there's so much incentive to just be a deliberate rage baiter. Just say the most extreme thing and get clipped for it. And like you know,
Devin, do you want to know something hilarious? I even think the people who accidentally pioneered this, they just weren't actually smart enough to intentionally rage bait. Were the Call of Duty influencers and players back in the day, 10 years ago? This was exactly the meta. They used to just make vlogs about each other and the drama, and everyone just ate. You just for a week, you would all just have a vlog back and forth. But the difference is they didn't do it intentionally. It was just the drama in their scene. But that's basically what Twitch is now, mate.
And exactly, and I'm fine with that. Like that's like we can totally have that, but we need either ad segmentation, put them in their category, put them in their box where they're yelling at each other, like YouTube has. Like, you want to go watch that content on YouTube, you can go over there. But I, as an advertiser, don't want to be a part of it. And the problem is, and the reason why I came down to like, well, we just need to be a gaming website, was just I realized that Twitch, from an engineering perspective, will just never implement this. Like they will never add segmentation.
What's their motivation if they're just getting their lunch eaten by YouTube and TikTok and they don't fundamentally, Amazon doesn't care about Twitch as a platform because it has declining viewership and it's losing cultural relevance? Like, why would
because it's an engineering solution. So the problem, Monty, is that like, because they're viewing Twitch as this IVS adjacent thing where they're not going to implement any solutions to actually fix the content. Right, because advertising is not what they're after with Twitch. Like they're not trying to monetize. They are right, but the other thing too is like, you look at like a good place to go for this is just look at the Amazon public reports and how the executives talk about Twitch, right? Like I wrote about this recently. In the last 5 or 6 years, Twitch has been mentioned in an earnings report 3 times. Yeah. And it's always as an adjacent to IVS and as a live stream platform. It is never as a content or social platform. That to me is like the key AAA indicator of like how Amazon views the platform. So like you said, Monty, they have no incentive to update it. And so if they're not going to do that, then like we might as well have a gaming website that still accomplishes the engineering goal of like demonstrating what IVS is and get rid of all this bullshit. Otherwise, like I think that the pressure that Richard was talking about with like the congressional stuff will eventually reach like Steve Boom, who like oversees like Twitch at Amazon, and he'll just be like, yeah, that's enough. like we can demonstrate IVS like via video or something. Like we're not going to. And then
it is becoming, for lack of a better word, toxic over time, because now we have congressional committees who are talking about some
that's
of
a big deal.
Political streamers, and the platform itself has moved from, as we discussed, being a gaming first website into like, how much is just IRL at this point in time? How much of the viewership? Like 50%, probably
enormous
more?
percent. Yeah.
I mean,
most of the viewership.
I mean, remember as well, by the way, like this is so that committee that they've been invited to testify at, right? It obviously includes Discord, Reddit. I think Steam might have been in it too. I don't think they're going to get Gabe Newell, but he did get deposed for a court case recently in Australia, so maybe. But the reality is, like, it is specifically about online radicalization and its connection to violence. That's what it is specifically looking into. And it is going to be very, very hard when your number one Twitch streamer, the guy that the CEO personally champions, had his staff sing happy birthday to, like some fucking scene out of North Korea, all hail glorious leader, it's going to be very hard to argue that you take this matter seriously when we all know the number of violations that guy has. And he's not alone. I mean, like, you know, it certainly goes other ways. They definitely have had, you know, right-wing dudes say crazy shit as well, had the fair share of that. And it's like, there's a number of people on the platform that are saying things and doing things and showing content that we all
You're not
know
even
is
bringing up
against
the live
rules.
streaming of shootings that have happened on Twitch, Richard.
I mean, listen, yeah, that's before you even get into that fucking can of worms. I mean, you know, but like, put it this way, I do always feel a little degree of sympathy if somebody does something unbelievably heinous and reprehensible and they use your platform to broadcast it. You know, maybe you can put some sort of safeguards, or maybe you should have reacted quicker. But I think ultimately your hands are tied. The sheer scale of these platforms and the fact that they're all geared towards like AI moderation now. They're laying people off specifically so they can focus on AI taking over these moderation jobs. I think, like, you know, that's something I'm like, because that happened. I remember Facebook getting pulled over for that, and a bunch of advertisers pulling out, saying it's unacceptable. It might have been over the Christchurch shooting.
It happens, yeah. But generally we come back real fast.
Yeah,
like it's where ultimately, man, like it comes down to ROAS. Like I hate to say it, but it's
return
like,
on ad spend for those.
Yeah,
of you guys who
it's
don't
just
know.
like, honestly, man, if I was getting a 10-to-1 return on Twitch, I
mean,
would
that'd be a bonkers return.
And yeah, right. And I could okay, like well, you know, the YouTube Google AdSense average is 2.6. So let's say let's get a 4-to-1, right? Like, so get some crazy thing, right? And then I was getting a 4-to-1 on Twitch reliably. You know, like maybe a lot more of my brands would be like, yeah, that guy's kind of crazy, but we'll just we'll run this ad, you know? So like ultimately it kind of comes down to like we don't like the political stuff, and we think it's and like without it we would probably just do standard game advertising spend, which, you know, comes down to like $6 to $9 CPM, and it's fine, right? But we advertise on games on YouTube all the time, and where you still see Twitch have strong support is in sponsored game advertising, because that's what works. But the funny thing is that Twitch doesn't get a cut of that usually, right? Because that money's sponsored directly through agencies to streamers. So like Twitch as an advertising company, if they had the return on advertising spend, we'd likely spend a lot more there. Since they don't, I mean, their advertising spend is so much less than YouTube, it's not even funny. Now we can add the political issues to it. It's just like Richard said, why would anybody advertise here?
How do you think it's going to affect the people that still want to advertise on Twitch when probably starting next year, Dan Clancy's going to be sat there wearing a hat and a cravat, right? And he's going to be shown clips of all the top streamers saying crazy shit about, you know,
I don't know who advertises on Twitch anymore. Like when I talk to my ad buyers, all of us are like really, like the real conversation is always around TikTok Live, like TikTok Shop and TikTok for Business.
If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite words are no contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. Here's why I said yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for $15 a month. Now, obviously, wireless bills are going through the roof. You may not be wanting to pay that, especially if, like me, you're on public Wi-Fi a lot, or if you're out and about in a cafe or restaurant. Wi-Fi is just becoming more and more available. So why bother paying for all this data that you're not using because you're just getting it over Wi-Fi networks anyway? Plans at Mint Mobile start at just $15 a month. They come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text, and it's all delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan. You bring your phone number along with your existing contacts. Obviously, if you've got a phone that uses eSIMs, it takes an extremely short amount of time to switch over. Plus, if you travel a lot internationally like I do, they do have international packages that will get you high-speed data internationally. All you have to do is just get them on the website. It's incredibly easy. So, I mean, I don't really see a reason not to switch, especially if you guys already have your own phones. There's no need to keep overpaying. So if you're ready to say yes to saying no, make the switch at mintmobile.com/4horsemen. That's FOURHORSE MEN plural, 4 Horsemen. That's mintmobile.com/4horsemen. Upfront payment of $45 required, which is the equivalent of $15 a month. Limited time new customers offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigs on unlimited plans. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
I have a naive question for you, Devin. As someone who I only know about advertising through like Monty and the odd thing on like my own YouTube. So what I would ask is this: as Monty said, our network is basically sponsored by podcast sponsors, and as you can imagine,
podcasts are great.
They don't use the exposure model, mate. Everything we do comes with a code, and so the advertiser can track. It's a campaign, basically.
Yeah, it's great. Podcasting is one of the most sophisticated advertising.
Listen, that part makes sense because we spent
so much money on podcasting.
Like, put it this way, it's no surprise to me when a company, sponsors us 1 month, then 3 months later they come back. It means they got the ROI. It means once they checked out the campaign, it all made sense. Why is this somehow not part of how Twitch is done? Why is Twitch just you stream and then the network just puts it out?
They have been moving
TV back
towards
in the day.
that.
Why is that the model?
Like some of the podcast advertisers, so Factor, who's one of our sponsors, does do direct response, which are the ones with the codes on Twitch through like stream elements. They have started doing that. But it's not as sophisticated at the moment.
Well, the real answer is because if you want to actually advertise through Twitch, like the proper way to do it without a direct sponsorship, you have to. It's a really painstaking process. And I personally know of a company that was looking to spend $2.5 million on Twitch that could not get an email response from a salesperson. They directly emailed sales, and they had a $2.5 million budget. This is like a really well-known brand. And I can tell you guys who it is offline. They later just built their own Twitch channel and ran giveaways for like years. And like you guys would all know who this is, okay? And they couldn't spend $1 through Twitch's advertising. There have been so many times where I've been like ghosted by like doing white glove ads or everything like that. Also, the minimum to spend on Twitch. Now, keep in mind, you can run a Google AdSense account for like I think you can spend $5 on advertising. I think that's like possible, right? The minimum to spend on Twitch, I think I can't say the number, but like think like upper 6 digits, right? So like it is totally.
Is there actually a reason behind that though? Because again, I would get this, Devin, if the whole thing was like you said before. It's really just an advertisement for the streaming service and the technology, and there's only a skeleton crew. There's thousands of Twitch employees. Like that's the part
not
I don't
anymore.
understand.
There's less than 500.
Well, it was that part of it then, because that's what I don't get. How is someone not replying to that email? Remember, everyone else in esports pros dying to get a crumb of bread, and then they're turning money away. That sounds nuts.
The incompetence at Twitch is truly astounding to see, Thorin. Like, I think that they're very much a cultural problem. To the tune of what Richard was saying earlier about kind of Californian companies that are sort of like beanbag type of people, that is Twitch to a T. And I mean, like the average person, there are some good people at Twitch. I don't want to say, I know a lot of them, like I don't want to say they're all bad, but I would say a large number of them are, like less like in and out of the office, like COVID, like remote work culture, like 1 to 2 hours of like real work per day. Their sales teams are not like the crack hard. Like the problem is like we compare them to Amazon. Like Amazon's sales team is like Navy SEAL people, right? But they're not on Twitch. They're doing CPG sales. And so like the Twitch sales team is like, like the Jurassic Park meme where the bad flute plays like. And it's just like this like shitty dinosaur. Like that's like how it is compared to Amazon. That's what's really going on, right? I mean, it's just literal incompetence that email didn't get answered.
I appreciate your audience at least.
I do love that meme.
No, I think. I mean, look, I've heard similar stories. There's like I've heard similar stories. I mean, particularly as well with just even getting responses about what are Twitch's intentions like moving forward, right? A lot of people have tried to contact them. People I know, because when I was like reporting on this stuff, I talked to a few advertisers as well, or rather representatives of companies that it was their business to place ads with variety of platforms, Twitch being one of them. And they said like it was very hard to even sort of get any response about like intentions, So like we're not saying we're going to pull out, but we need to know a little bit about what's happening next while we make our decision. Zero communication.
Very little. We had a dedicated Twitch rep and they were just like constantly confused. Not at like I felt that she was like actually fairly competent, but just the messaging from up high. Like, I mean, she was like directly reporting to the CMO. The CMO didn't have like a very clear idea what was going on. She recently just left. The CMO just left like a couple weeks ago. Like we couldn't. That's the thing. Is like is like we would want like a solid answer on something where it's like, hey, we have like a $300,000 or $400,000 budget we want to spend here over the course of like 2 quarters. We want to make sure that like these KPIs are met and that like our ads are not displayed on the, like this was during like the hot tub thing where it's like you've said on Twitter that we're not gonna get displayed next to like these hot tub streams. So you've segmented the category. Is that correct? And like wouldn't get a very clear answer. Well, if I spend that budget and then I have one instance of that happening, I as the brand manager, I'm right, like it's over, right? Because I, as the agency, am taking on the responsibility to spend the brand's money, and if I do that irresponsibly or that happens, that's on me. So that means if I have even one instance of that happening, I can't spend the whole budget. Okay, well then I pull the budget, and that's what happened over and over and over again. And then I talked to some of the guys that were the ad buyers for the bigger agencies than mine. It was the same story. It's like, well, we can't get a clear answer on that. I'm not gonna risk Campbell's soup against an ad on one hot tub stream. All it takes is that, and now my entire agency is on fire. Like, there's no way, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, just did it make sense?
Yeah, and like I say, I heard that quite a bit, and to your point as well about the ad segmenting. I mean, you know, probably at this point, and you can give me some insight as to whether this is a viable solution. I was told for years by people that dealt with brands and advertisements and all of that and sponsorships, all of that stuff, that ultimately if Twitch ever explicitly had an 18 plus adult area where 18 plus things happened, whether it was, whoops, here's a boob, or right, here's why this fucking radical group have some really good ideas. If you had that like cordoned off from everyone else, and the only people that can see that are people who prove their age, you have to upload a fucking, you know, photo of your driver's license or whatever to Twitch to even get in there. But those people, you wouldn't have ads in that segment, but they could be donated to, they could be subbed to. Twitch would still get their cut, they would still get their cut, right? I was told for years that if that happened, nobody would want to advertise on a platform that even had an 18 plus section.
That's my contention. And then another thing that nobody talks about with that is as soon as you become sort of not safe for work, even if you have a cordoned off category like that, it's the banks. That's what like anybody that's ever dealt with payment processing and not safe for work content immediately understands that Stripe drops out, the major banks drop out, Visa, MasterCard gone.
Saw this recently with Steam over those like adult fucking anime games.
It is the banks are the regulated banks for not safe for work stuff are super spooky. We got a major bank. When we were back in the townies who represented Amaranth. And we had a major bank shut off our payment processing, and it was a nightmare, man. The bottom line is, like, as soon as you cordon off that stuff on Twitch, and Twitch is deemed a not safe for work website, whether it's cordoned off and has verification or not, they lose all payment processing, like on the other side of it, right? And so and the website is over. Like it's just like major websites like OnlyFans like have dealt with this. Like it is that is the scariest thing that can happen. Is like payment processors are like the true Illuminati, and if you mess with those guys, it's over. So yeah, you can't have that as a solution. And also, like as an advertiser too, it's like, imagine if Pornhub, this is extreme, but like imagine if Pornhub had like a safe for work section where they talked about sports or something. Like I'm not gonna advertise there because there's a chick getting railed on the other side of the door.
Not gonna lie though, I certainly watch it there. So.
It's honestly sad that the Playboy magazine business model no longer works in 2025.
Yeah. By the way, to touch on this topic, is this also a case, as you're saying, of like Twitch just being super behind and never updating anything? Because as you say, mate, it's a long time ago now that on YouTube there was that scandal with what's his name, PewDiePie, that made them have to do the thing where it was like, we promise your ad won't get shown on a Nazis video or whatever. Like they already did that years ago on YouTube, mate. Twitch just have never attempted
8 years ago. Yeah, YouTube has an amazing content segmentation system, and it literally is really simple to understand. It's called the stoplight system. It's green, yellow, red. green good, yellow kinda and then red real bad, right? Red demonetized. So Twitch has the ability to demonetize direct streams. They've shown they could do it. And they probably have the ability to demonetize categories. I've never got a clear answer on that, but apparently they did demonetize the whole hot tub category. Again, this is one of the things I was trying to check because I was spending live on Twitch at that time and I couldn't get a clear answer on. I don't know. But point being, like, they have the red system. The yellow system is what actually makes YouTube relevant, right? Because if you are a little bit more risky as a brand, like advertising, you know what? I can be featured on weapons-based content and a little bit of violence and sort of like cursing and things like that. I'll go yellow, and that's fine, right? And you still don't hit that category of political terrorism. This group has good ideas, like Richard said, things like that, right? So YouTube solved this problem completely. Like it's like an amazing place to advertise, and that's why still rocks is the best place to create content. Right, I know.
They
Monty
even did that thing, I can tell you from the little guy. I always thought the genius thing they did was where they get you, the content creator on YouTube, when you upload, to rate
flag your own videos.
Yeah. So eventually, if you're doing a good job, they know you're just handling it. They don't even have to do it. They outsource it to you because you're encouraged to do it, as you say.
Yeah.
So in my case, for example, I always take the one that says I'm going to swear like a motherfucker, basically.
And they trust you.
Which probably means I don't get every ad, but I imagine I'm at least in the yellow category. You know what you mean?
Yeah, and it turns out that most brands are okay advertising in yellow, and the CPMs are pretty similar. So like you might lose $1 or so like on RPM ultimately, but like Monty said, that one of the themes of this podcast was like, how is the content creation sphere in general, right? And like the answer is like outside of live streaming, like I think we're in the best place we've ever been. I am very afraid of the existential threat of AI, but beyond that, I think that content creation is in an amazing place, and Twitch, to all of your points, has just not caught up. They just stayed behind. For 8 years, they could have built this content segmentation system, a stoplight system, anything.
They haven't invested
but it's also just
in the tech, though. It's not.
No,
just
they did invest $15 million in music, $25 million in esports, like on and on, right, or whatever the number was, right, and yeah, nothing in the tech and nothing in actually where they could have got a real return on the website.
Yeah. But there's also just no discoverability. So like over time, if your viewer model depends
Never
on
has been.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the problem, right? So if your viewer model depends on getting new people in the door, you have to occasionally see growth for those new people via mechanisms in an algorithm that doesn't exist on Twitch's website, right? Like there is no way. Basically, I mean, I saw Ludwig was doing some kind of experiment recently where he started a new channel and he sat there for like 6 hours. Obviously, he didn't announce it. He was just seeing how long does it take to get a viewer. And it took him like 6 hours on this channel to have someone.
And the guy that found him because they saw the thumbnail was Ludwig. So it was just one of his viewers that found him ultimately, right?
Yeah.
And that's the most terrible thing, Monty. I think the biggest, like, kind of, if we talk about sins that Twitch ever kind of did, was they marketed themselves as a top funnel website. Come here to get discovered, run a full-time, have a full-time career. Oh, being a full-time content creator is our number one goal at Twitch. Like, we want to empower content creators. And the reality is they never built that discoverability system. Like there is no top funnel at Twitch. I feel so bad that, like, as we speak, there's guys and girls grinding 6-8 hours a day on there thinking that Twitch is going to feed them viewers, and they're just wasting their time. They're literally spinning their wheels on that website, and gaining.
They have like the
Twitch,
the Twitch clips now, which can maybe drive some viewership, but it's a that same clip. If you take a clip that you do from your stream, is going to just do better on YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, TikTok, and like those are the actual discovery platforms where if you're doing something interesting, but you could be the most interesting person in the world, and if you open a Twitch stream and you could have the best content, no one will ever.
By the way, the most nuts thing about this is I can say, 100%. Just as a consumer, and I'm a boomer, like I don't know half the new shit. Mate, YouTube and TikTok are actually insane once the algorithm knows what you like. They just
so
feed you what you want. They feed you all the new shit. Yeah, the joke in the Monday is I get why no one subscribes to YouTube channels. You don't need to. Everything is just on your front page. But if you go to Twitch, I'm on some like archaic, like click on the game, who's at the top, like what am I fucking doing here? Yeah. What is this system? It's nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah. And you're always fed like the most controversial like thing that's going on at the time, so like you'll always get like the Hassan Abi stream or something like that. It's like the only thing that like Twitch really has going for it, and I understand this is a controversial take, but like I truly believe the WL community, the guys that are like Kai Sanat and AMP and those guys are carrying the entire fucking website. Like literally.
Kai Cenat definitely is. I mean,
like if you look at Twitch Mothyathon, that accounted for like something like over 10% of Twitch's total fucking viewership in the year. Right? Like it's just like a million subs, like everything, like that, like his individual decision to not, and like it's weird too, is like he has a particular loyalty towards Twitch that I don't understand. He's not like contracted to I'm pretty good on a pretty good authority, that he's not under like paid contract, that he just chooses to be there, versus like iShowSpeed just crushing it on YouTube, right? Like I mean, international, he's like a Michael Jackson level phenomenon at this point. Like he goes to towns and there's people following him in huge crowds. Kai Cenat has that energy, but he's sort of ascended beyond Twitch, but yet uses Twitch as this platform for live events. And so where I think
does
Twitch
Ibai,
is,
for whatever reason.
Yeah. I mean, there's that I want to talk about later if we have time. Yeah, because that's where you guys are like, you know so much about like what's happened to esports there. I was like, what the fuck? Like, did this whole thing get invested in by the Middle East? Is it over? Like, but yeah, like that sort of is like, I think that live content is really special when you have that I was there feeling. Like right, and like Kai Cenat and some of the creators at the top are doing that. Where you would go on Kai's stream for Mothyathon, he's got like a luau going. He's got like parachuters. He's like it's a live band playing. He had fucking Linkin Park playing in his bedroom at 4 a.m. on a random stream. Linkin Park just showed up and started playing. Like that is what Twitch could have leaned into, that live experience of like, I was there. This is amazing. I can't experience this on a video. But they never understood that.
I see what you mean about how it is the laziest, like, shit brain take. Like, he's obviously just your Viewbotting. Like, bro, he has like Tom Brady or someone on his stream.
Exactly.
I saw a stream. What are we talking about? I know exactly. I can believe people tuned in for that. That's plausible.
I mean, like his Elden Ring stuff was fucking sick. Like I would never watch Kai Cenat, you know. I don't think it's content that's made for me, right? But I watched some of his Elden Ring shit, and what was really cool about that wasn't just like, you know, everyone plays Elden Ring, right? Because it's going to do two things. One, you have a super fucking, you know, obsessed community that, like, they want to see what build you're doing so they can tell you why it's wrong. They want to see how long it takes you to build the boss. So you're going to get all the backseat drivers. It's also a really fucking popular game. If you're a popular person playing a popular game.
Makes good reaction content because it's hard.
Yeah, exactly. It's got it all, right? So everybody did an Elden Ring run. But what was different with Kai Cenat was, like, he had come from... He said, like, back when he started playing Dark Souls and shit, that wasn't his jam. Like, he was actually trying it because other people were trying it. And you didn't just watch him learn to master the game. He was, like, loving something he hadn't been exposed to before. And by the end, by the time the DLCs launched, motherfuckers in full cosplay, right, from Software ascended him, like... life-size statues of like the fucking bosses and shit from Software were tweeting about it. Everyone's tweeting about it. It was an event, you know, and it was an event, like a throwback.
And that is what live streaming should have leaned into. Yeah. That was the esports problem, is that like we could have gone into the storylines, right? We could have gone into like what like making an event. I remember Riot, when they used to put up Worlds, would have these like crazy events attached to it, fucking flying holographic dragons and shit. Yeah. Like just crazy stuff, right? And like live streaming really works when you're in the chat and you're like, I could never experience this anywhere else.
Remember like, Twitch plays Pokemon? Like, when was the last time there was anything like that?
Yeah, right. Like, and so now we have content that like, even the word content sort of begets like where we're at, right? It's like we have something where it's like, sit here and just like consume this slop. And you could watch this on a video. It doesn't matter if this is like one of the, like, you look at, sorry to dog on Hassan so much, but just because it's so easy to do. Like, if I pull up a stream of his and I don't know the topic. Okay, so I don't know what like I don't have a like CNN isn't showing me the date. I pull up a stream from 2 years ago, it's indistinguishable. And that's the truth with like so many of the top streamers. I could pull up a stream from 4 years ago, and if I didn't have anything indicating the date, just no information on like what it's like, you know, October. There would be no difference. The camera's the same, the topic's the same, the content's the same, the rhetoric is the same. How do we run a website like that? We're just gonna have attrition. Like you're not doing anything new. So like the few people that are pushing the website forward are just not enough to support the whole platform.
Yeah. And remember, of course, as well, he's in this weird position where, when he has his crash outs and like he just randomly turns on his fucking audience, which will be like predicated on the like craziest thing. I genuinely feel for people when they get in this position where it's like you're worried about what happens when the audience goes away, so you do and say things to keep them around, but you sort of recognize like how fucked up and empty it is. And it's like, honestly, you just have to look at the streamers lists of like even 3 years ago, and the people who were at the top, a lot of them aren't around now. Like, they're like, whatever happened to those guys? Oh, they're still streaming. Nobody watches them, but it's because they didn't lean into this bullshit of like, shit, what do I have to say? What do I have to do? And also, to a lesser degree, they probably don't have content that can really last beyond being a fad. I mean, sorry, go on.
Well, it's a classic. I think what you're saying is like, don't hate the player, hate the game. And
sure.
I totally agree. Like I don't blame Hassan individually for like what the content he creates. Honestly, right? Like I think if it wasn't for him, somebody would appear that did the exact same thing. It's the system that begets this sort of clipping culture we were talking about. That makes this cyclical like feed of like, this guy reacts to this guy, this guy reacts to this guy. There's tons of Reddit threads about it. Everybody's sort of like going back and forth. And it's like, eventually these content creators figure out like, hey man, if I'm KSI and Logan Paul, hey, why don't we just do a rivalry? Like Twitter DM, right? Like, hey man, like let's just like bullshit back and forth and like do some videos and shit like that. Then launch a company and make $40 million in a year. Yeah. right? Like it becomes obvious that like you can kind of game the system.
It's basically WWE.
Yeah, exactly. And that is Twitch now. Twitch is WWE. It's like the entire thing is sort of manufactured drama at the top, and people eat it up. It works.
Yeah. You know what I don't understand that Twitch never did, by the way. Richard, what do you want to say?
No, I was just going to say it's like to the point, like there is an element of kayfabe in all of this for sure. As in, like I feel that. Like I mean, this is not really anything to do with the topic, but I think the reason it's easy to do kayfabe and have these like very strange kind of like relationships where all these guys would have to do to go back to having the life they profess to want is just stop talking about each other. That's it.
Yeah.
You wake up tomorrow and you just pledge, if you're Hassan, I'm never going to talk about Destiny again, never going to talk about Asmongold again, never going to bring up any of their content, never going to react to it on stream, never going to mention them. I'm just going to say my shit and talk my shit. Why don't these guys do this? Well, it's like you talk about, right? It's the fucking machine. It's the apparatus that
incentives.
Yeah, exactly.
All this drama is incentivized, but it's really funny. None of these people have genuine relationships with each other. I mean, remember, at one point, a lot of these people were friends with each other. They're all meeting at TwitchCon and stuff. It's like big streamers think like this. When they're smaller than you, what can I do to collab? When I'm bigger than you, what can I do to fucking break you off?
To punch up.
And get somebody bigger. And that's just it, man. A lot of these relationships are totally fake. You can see it in everyone's eyes. And also, I mean, the average streamer is so fucking divorced from reality and has like fundamental personality problems that you would have if you sit there and talk for 10 hours a day to a scrolling. I mean, it's like if this was in a fucking, Ray Bradbury dystopian fucking short story, like, you wouldn't believe it. But here we are. This is what these people do for 8 to 12 hours a day with their life. Yeah, guess what? They're really under fucking socialized. They're narcissists who are very under-socialized. They're very good at manipulating people, not so good at forging meaningful relationships and feeling happy with what they do for a living,
There's still, I still have like so much respect for like Moon, Carnage, like the OGs that just, they stay in their lane. It's
so cool. Arc Raiders is giving Carnage as well as fucking like shot in the arm, like, because he's super cool. He's like a really cool cat.
Dude, he's awesome. Like, and like lives on a farm, like has the life, like chills out, like never gets involved in any kind of drama things like that is possible to do. The other really fun thing, Richard, that I think a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of these streamers, they have the podcasts, right? Where they have that, like, Like Hassan has a podcast. Ludwig has a Ludwig's podcast, The Yard, is number 7 on Patreon. It's $270,000 a month just on that. Yeah. And like like people don't realize that like a lot of these content creators are just monetizing exclusively off their podcast. Their podcasts are crushing, right? And as we mentioned before, podcasts are one of the best places to advertise.
Yeah.
Like you have a direct idea of what your ROIS is going to be. You know exactly like what you're getting. It's all attributable. It's amazing.
And it's just the same as their stream, but in a fucking studio.
Yeah, in a 3-hour format. It's just them talking. But this is the number I quoted for The Yard is just Patreon support, not even sponsors or anything like that. So these guys are like
do a lot of sponsorship. To be fair, like the thing, Devin, is that they're not part of a network, and even the biggest podcast, Joe Rogan, is part of Spotify, right? Even the biggest podcasts are part of networks because it's very difficult to spin up a independent advertising business for a single podcast. Even at that scale, they don't do a lot of sponsorship.
Yeah, but if you're making $270,000
I'm not saying they have to. I'm just letting you know they don't do a lot of stuff.
No, I know what you mean. No, I agree with him. The other part as well is bizarrely. Here's what's weird as well, Devin. If you think about it, if you're a streamer, one of the real problems as well is the reason it's going to be hard as a streamer to just have a big Patreon is because you already come on every day and provide the content.
Yeah.
The beauty of a podcast is a fan feels. I do this. I support some small, weird, like politics and fucking occult podcasts, mate, because I feel like if someone doesn't throw this guy $100, he's not going to fucking make another podcast. It makes me feel the scarcity, whereas the Twitch guy's giving me every day anyway. So it's like, why would I throw my money at like Pokemon? She'll be on tomorrow anyway.
Well, the trick is their format is all the same. They do 2 to 3 hours of public content, and then there's an hour of gated paywall content behind the Patreon. That's how they do it, and that's why
that's a really good model.
It is a very good model.
Again, if you're in niche spaces where people actually can't be on YouTube, that's even how they do it, mate. They put the first hours just generic, not edgy at all, and then it's like, but join us in hour 2,
and it gets super spicy.
Yeah. So of course you pay for that.
You know what's crazy too is like I think the conversation, like I don't know why we don't have a conversation more around like why Twitch sub at all. Like the Twitch sub, like taking 50% of your income and Patreon takes 6%. It's like, of course you're going to move these guys to Patreon. You're making 42% more money.
It's true, right? Yeah. I mean,
it's just to have your name appear on the overlay of the streamer, right?
Dude, it's crazy how much Twitch streamers are getting robbed and don't even know it, man. Like, you're losing 50%, then you have to pay taxes and you're self-employed. Holy shit.
Well, that's also the other crazy thing about that platform, bros. As you say, there are certain people who basically, if you're actually the rival, that's the person you should give the millions of dollars contract to, bro. You'd kill Twitch tomorrow. If you think about it, we've gone back in time. In the early days of Twitch, the whole reason you did join TSM is they had a way better fucking Twitch deal, so they weren't just taking the half, etc. But somehow everyone, even these giant people, are on dog shit contracts, basically. I feel like we're in some like Motown shit here, but it doesn't make sense.
The thing I wanted to bring up about the live events is and the WWE-ification is one thing that I don't understand why nobody ever did with Twitch. And I started bringing this up when Dr. Disrespect started getting big because he's basically a WWE character, right? So ignoring all the shit that happened, this is like when he was, when he was calling himself the face of Twitch, he was huge before all the scandal, blah, blah, blah. So don't take that into account. Just think about Dr. Disrespect. Now, Dr. Disrespect is a pretty good gamer, right? But he's not as good as Shroud. Right?
Yeah.
But Shroud has, no offense to Shroud, not the same showmanship as Dr. Disrespect. So my question was this, and also, Shroud may be good at FPS, but what happens if the next game that comes along, like he's not good at MOBAs? So my question was, why doesn't Twitch or somebody else create a company that is basically the WWE-ification of live streaming, where you get a bunch of people to be the performers, but then you have other people who are actually playing the games, if that makes sense. So you have somebody like Dr. Disrespect who is pretending to play the games.
OTK, but with Shroud, basically.
But what if Shroud was playing for Doc, but Doc was pretending to play the game? It's fake.
That's actually a good idea, yeah.
It's fake. And so you get...
But it's basically my very cynical joke I used to make back in the day, but it actually would have been straight fire, which is, why did I ever do the bloody interviews? I'm just some British guy who's obnoxious as fuck, and I've got a really, like, you either love me or hate me personality. I should, for real, have just gotten some straight fire, like, influencer from Instagram who had a small account, but she just looks like a 10 out of 10. And I feed her the questions in the air, and she does the interview, mate. And then the idea is every idiot would be tuning, wow, you're so knowledgeable about esports. And I'm feeding going to roll the fucking straight fight.
So stuff like that.
You're on some Cyrano de Bergerac shit, basically.
Exactly.
It's great. I mean, that's just media. But my point is like, what if you had an event where you have all these personalities? You find more Dr. Disrespects that maybe suck at games. You can just get professional actors at that point. Who cares? You know what I mean? Who are, at least casual gamers so they know the right stuff. You create the rivalries and you can do it. The thing you can sell is you can do it in any game. It's like, oh, well, we're changing genres. Here's a new game that's coming out, an entirely different genre. You just hire a bunch of people who are good at the game. They never appear on camera. The other people pretend to play the game. You build up those rivalries. You cut promos, and then you just do that. Why didn't anybody do that?
I think, Monty, one of the challenges to this is using Dr. Disrespect as an example, right? Is that the people that have the personalities that are like very extravagant and extreme that will create that type of content are kind of like neutron stars. They tend to like also have those self-destructive behaviors that blow themselves out. And Kick is finding this out, right? Like Kick tried to be that
website.
website.
You replace those people like you do on WWE. Just bring in the next one. What the fuck are you talking about? This happens all the time.
Yeah, I guess like you could I think Kick is finding out that like when you put a lot of those people in a zoo, it's sort of untenable, right?
I just disagree because you just need strong talent managers and strong handlers. Like WWE obviously has these. Like think about just to be blunt about WWE. Like you're dealing with a bunch of people who are on like extreme steroids. Like they're volatile. Their behavior is volatile, to say the least. And somehow WWE keeps these people mostly on rails. Now you can't control it.
I think they have very powerful contracts and very powerful like union type agencies that can.
But what exactly? But if you're
we don't have
like,
here,
if you're finding the next star of Twitch, like you can actually set this up. Is my point. Like you already have the what would effectively be the minor leagues of wrestling, like the local circuits, which is just people streaming on Twitch. And you find a bunch of these people and then which you can if you're Twitch or if you're a smart company. I'm just saying, I think to your point about live experiences, people were so obsessed with, oh, this person has to be playing the game. But nobody ever thought, what if we just detect, like, I can't see Shroud's hands most of the time. Who knows?
Y'all remember when Snoop Dogg came on and did that sponsorship and then he like wasn't playing the game? And he like the character's moving, he just lifts up both hands and smokes a blunt. That was so funny.
That was a classic.
But also that's part of the humor, Devin. Like you could do moments like that. It's like everybody knows wrestling is fake. Who cares? Like you're there for a different reason. So anyway, I'm just surprised that nobody ever like did anything with that. And also to continue on, like Twitch Rivals tried, and also Twitch Rivals is pretty successful, I think.
Yeah, Twitch Rivals is good. Yeah.
Twitch kept running it, but Twitch Rivals was a really good idea that they had to create these, special events with the biggest people on the platform and various titles or
this is probably the best idea they've ever had.
Great.
Yeah. Honestly.
I casted some Twitch Rivals and I'm not into, obviously I care mostly about premier level competition, but I had fun casting those events. If I'm being honest, like I enjoyed doing Twitch Rivals.
Everybody enjoyed it. The streamers liked it. It brought people together. It was good viewership. Yeah, I think it was like true to the theme of Twitch. It was like good high level gameplay and competition. By the time we were running budget, like that was like Twitch Rivals came around. I wasn't running much budget in games, but I did a few activations there, and it was really good from an advertiser perspective too. Like we got our CPMs back on ads for that. So it was, I love Twitch Rivals.
We are thrilled to have Factor here as a sponsor on the Four Horsemen. Of course, you're eating good with the information we deliver on this podcast, but you might as well literally eat good as well with Factor. There's tons of varieties. There's a wider selection these days than ever before of weekly meal options, including premium seafood choices like salmon and shrimp at no extra cost. What Factor gives you is once a week, they send you a box that is refrigerated, and all you have to do is pop those meals into your fridge and microwave them for 2 minutes, and you'll have healthier options. In fact, 97% of customers say that Factor helped them live a healthier life. And I think it's pretty obvious why, because if you've got a Factor meal in your fridge, you're much less likely to go for some sort of delivery option if you're not feeling up to cooking or making your own food at the time. And honestly, Factor is probably going to be a much healthier choice, at least than the choices I tend to make when I order takeout compulsively. So Factor is going to be right there for you. It also has more GLP-1 friendly meals, new Mediterranean diet options, in addition, of course, to vegetarian, keto options. They've got tons of different dietitian approved meals to make sure that you stay on track with your health goals, right? So it's really great product. You can also pause at any time, which is very convenient if you've got a few too many in your fridge that you need to get through, or you're going on vacation or otherwise just need a break. All you have to do is pop on the website, just pause for that week, and make it about as easy as possible. So I really enjoy Factor Meals, and you can eat smart at factormeals.com/horsemen. That's plural, MEN, horsemen 50 off OFF. Use code horsemen 50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code horseman50 off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for a whole year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchases. And, I think with all these missed points on Twitch, I want to talk about some of the other platforms. Like, we can get into Kick a little bit. I know very little about that, so I'd be interested to hear your take. But, the problem with YouTube is that you can say, okay, well, the algorithmic discovery on YouTube is better. But the thing that's holding YouTube back is that YouTube Gaming tried many years ago, when Fizz was doing it, to have the landing page for YouTube Gaming like Twitch had, and like make it so there was an accessible portal that was specifically engineered for gaming. And that doesn't, they just gave up on that. And I think that's the annoying thing.
It didn't work.
Yeah. But I can, but it needs to happen because I can click on Twitch and quickly get to a game and see who's streaming, but I can't really do that very effectively. It'll
never happen on YouTube. Side kind of disclosure, full disclosure, I consult for Google on this. YouTube deliberately doesn't want to make a kingmaker system because they want algorithmic dependent discovery. They're not looking to create a sort of a kind of cadre of for better or worse, right? Of broadcasters like the Twitch has. So their functionality, YouTube Gaming is more a CPM category for advertising and for segmentation than it is an actual culture like Twitch is. And I think there are strengths and weaknesses to that philosophy.
I just think that's what people complain about is that
they do.
There isn't Twitch doesn't have an automated discovery, but it has more or less a manual discovery feature that is lacking on YouTube.
But the difference is that as a person starting a new gaming channel today about massively multiplayer games on YouTube, I can actually get real meaningful viewership in my first 4 videos if the content is good, but I can run 50 streams about that on Twitch and not get a single viewer. Yeah. Right. So you trade that sort of culture of manual discoverability for actual discoverability. And that's the trade-off that YouTube doesn't want to make.
Here's a question for you. You remember when Twitch introduced that they said basically you weren't going to be beholden to exclusivity, that you could only stream on Twitch. You could duo stream, on Twitch and YouTube, Twitch and Kick, whatever it is, all of them, all of the above fucking, was that because they were worried about people making a choice? Because it's I haven't even set it up yet because I'm just lazy and stupid. And, but I know I'm leaving viewership on the table every time I stream.
Yeah. You should do TikTok as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that given
But
TikTok.
Richard, you absolutely should do YouTube. I think you'll find your YouTube viewership is actually high.
Yeah,
it will be higher.
I think that's the thing. And it's I think Twitch ultimately were allowing people to do that because, from my perspective, it looked like they were worried. Well, if I got to choose one, I will go to YouTube because I do feel YouTube, all things aside about Twitch's decline, I think YouTube is just a better platform to grow on overall.
It is. And TikTok, which is the sort of I know nobody wants to talk about TikTok Live, but if you started a TikTok Live stream right now and you were doing something moderately interesting, you would have 200 to 600 viewers immediately. Discoverability on TikTok Live is very good. And
TikTok's algorithm is just straight up the best right now.
It's just so good. Yeah. Really good. I think that TikTok and YouTube became incredibly good places to be discovered. And the pressure from that made Twitch realize that they could not lock people into exclusivity. Also, there were some legal kind of whispers of challenges there because there was some conversations from TAA and some very powerful ad agencies that said, okay, listen, if you want to regard these people as employees and lock them to exclusivity in a California-based company, we can have a conversation about that. And Twitch is they're not W2. We're good. Like they're in that very delicate area of like the streamer is not an employee. Okay, well then you can't, like, if you don't have a paid contract with that employee where you're paying them monthly to do something, and Twitch dropped all their paid contracts, then you can't hold them to exclusivity. Like that's a W2. You're an employee. Right. So that pressure was on the back end that a lot of people weren't talking about. There's a lot of conversations at really high levels about that. And I actually think that given another 4 to 6 months of that exclusivity, we would have seen a big breakout from the major agencies that pushed against that. And there would have been a legal challenge. And then at that point, I think Twitch would have been forced to do it. So they just got ahead of the PR for once and they just dropped it themselves.
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense. Another question, X.com, as it's known now. I mean, Elon's always talking about he wants to make it a place where people stream their content and he's going to monetize it and all that. From an advertiser perspective, does anyone take any of that shit serious?
We've spent a lot of money on X over the last like couple of years, and it is so crazy. Like, so when Elon took over X, it like basically wasn't an ad platform. Like they fired everybody, and we had a full-time representative at X that was like really good. This is back, I should say Twitter. It's like under Dorsey still, and like it was like really good, and we were like running ads, and like we were getting good performance, like pretty standard. Like it was pretty close, like adjacent to like Google AdSense, like pretty good returns. And then when X came in, it was like a jackhammer, man. The staff disappeared. The guy didn't even say anything. I just didn't get a message back. Like ever again. I tried to I was like, hey, I'm a major ad buyer. Like I'm spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on the platform. Like I need to contact nobody. Nobody even available. No emails, no nothing. Nobody knew what was going on. I'm pretty sure Elon went in there and like cleaned house and there was like 15 people left. It was insane. Like okay. So after that point, the whole ad system was kind of like broken. You could like run them semi manually, but like nothing would happen, or it would like get like literally 3 impressions. And so we dropped advertising X for a while. Right. Then it looks like they picked themselves back up Q2, Q3, 2025. And now the returns are still too unreliable to advertise consistently, because sometimes it does quite well, but it's not like, honestly, if I'm going to do text-based advertising, I'll just do it on Meta, because I'm just going to get so much more consistent returns. So the live streaming aspect of it, I think, is kind of like Elon's pet project to play Diablo 4, and doesn't like have any like doesn't have any traction or anything that we can measure. There's some internal talks about paying live streamers, and they've actually reached out to a couple of people. There's some people in OTK they reached out to, but nothing actually happened. And so all X is like a sort of what do you call it, like multi-streaming solution. You just stream there because you're also streaming to other places. Yeah,
it's also not, I think, a bad discovery feature, because the streaming is at the top of the app. You know, if somebody's live streaming, it's
and
right
nobody
at the
does
top.
it.
And nobody does it. So honestly,
would people not be scared again of like toxic vicinity, as it were? Like you make a stream and you sponsor this guy's stream, and then suddenly Griper 789's making the comment there and all the memes. Is that not what people would be scared of?
Griper 789.
That's what the account would be called. I'm a Pepe.
Oh my god!
If you go into any of the major, like S-Fan is a good example of a person who like normally hits like 4 to 6K live viewership on X. You go into those chats, it's empty. There's nobody ever talking in there.
It's a cumulative.
It's a cumulative viewership. It's a weird thing how they measure it.
It's
and
not
so to Thorne's point,
it's whoever has like clicked on it. But
I can't spend on that.
Like I have never unfollowed somebody because I see a live stream, because it's not intrusive. But what that has done, and I will tell you, is if I see somebody streaming on X, I will go watch their YouTube or Twitch stream sometimes.
That's interesting. Yeah, I have no data on how well X is converting.
Because here's the thing. You can't, and I'd be curious, comment, guys, if you have this experience, because you can't see links very well. And I know they're trying to fix that. But if you try and advertise your live stream on X, it just gets suppressed, right? Because they don't want you leaving the platform. Although that has been changing recently, where they're
trying to fix that.
They will play videos in X. It's getting a lot better, to be fair. But for X has ceased being useful for me in many ways, because I can't promote content. So what the fuck is the point, right?
From a CTA perspective, just like call to action and getting people to respond, our best campaigns ever were in directly sponsored X threads. I mean, I should say our second best, because our best were actually like YouTube 60-second tie-ins. Those are top notch. But like, I've done all kinds of stuff: Instagram, in post, stories, everything, name it. Like when you get a person on X to talk about something, and they even talk about it without a link, and it like goes out, it's direct, and you have it directly attributed to creator code or something, like it crushes, man. I don't know why, but it's just really good. Yeah,
that's awesome. But I'm saying, like, in terms of like promoting Twitch or YouTube videos,
not good. Yeah,
not good.
And I think they'll try to fix it, but
yes,
dude,
they
X
already
is
are
such a wild
fixing it
card.
because it's easier to watch YouTube in the app now. It's easier to read articles in the app that are linked and go back to Twitter, which is what they want. Like, they just don't want you leaving the platform. But in any case, like, my point is that in a world where it's very hard to get traction on me saying my stream is going live or I have this video, when I can go live on X and it's at the top of everybody's feed, and it's like an advertisement for your YouTube or Twitch stream, because everybody knows if you are a gamer, you're not just streaming on X. You know what I mean? Nobody does that. So they also know, hey, the YouTube's live, the Twitch is live, the Kick is, whatever is live at the same time. And honestly, I think more people will do it.
Yeah, the takeaway for content creators is you should just multi-stream to as many platforms as possible, and like, you should be on Twitch, you should be on TikTok, you should be everywhere. There are some interesting X Factor websites where I think it's actually detrimental to your brand to stream there. Like Rumble is in that category a little bit. Yeah, and Kick, I think. So Kick, we were all the way back to the IVT conversation about invalid traffic. I had mentioned that Kick
60%.
Was 68%, and actually Eddie challenged me on I went on their show, and I did a show with the owner and a couple of the other people, and they said they want to talk about Twitch Viewbotting, and they said, well, what do you think Kick's Viewbot number is? And I said, well, I would guess it's around 70%. And then the co-founder actually challenged me on Twitter correctly, because I didn't have data I had on Twitch for that. And I said, okay. But then I went back and I talked to the agencies. I talked to Vadra, and I got the data, and it was fucking 70%. Like Kick literally has a Viewbot slider that they can use, that that you can just like increase the number on the back end for the number of people that are on the platform. That's why you have streamers like Neon, like, coming on to 70,000 viewers, and then the thing shuts off and he has 1,000 viewers for like 2 minutes, and then it goes back up to like so it's a mess over there. And I think like that's an example of a place where if you actually multi-stream as a content creator, you might be actively damaging your brand, right? So you have to be. By the way, I still have really high hopes for Kick,
timing. As of the day that we're recording this, the Major has like an exclusivity component for core streamers on Kick. Where
that's because Kick is still paying their streamers. Like, Kick is still paying for stuff.
In this case, I'm just saying, if they're making people who are Twitch streamers go to Kick, and you're saying they can harm their brand, it's also kind of an example of how esports.
If you guys seen like what Asmongold is earning on Kick, like, you can make real money over there. The payouts are real, and I mean it's because the LTV for gambling sponsor for viewers is like, I don't know what, like $2,500 a user. so like, you can pay, the KPP is great. You can pay 95% sub revenue, which is what it is over there, right? Because if you convert a user over to stake, like, they're making $2,500 on average off that person over the lifetime. So.
Yeah, as far as I know, the other thing people might not know, I have a little bit of experience with gambling sponsors, is gambling also isn't about like normal marketing of like, get a bazillion people. It's just get the whales, mate. As soon as you've got the whales, that's where all the money is. Yeah, like you said, the person who'll put thousands in, that's the guy you want. You don't care about the 1,000 people who put $1 in. That doesn't add up the same way. Yeah.
Yeah, Kick unironically has like the most viable model for live streaming, just not necessarily the most ethical one. Like, just kick them over to a place with really,
to gambling. Yeah.
Just kick them over to a place of really high LTV. Like, absolutely. If Amazon ever did that, and like, because here's a really interesting stat, like a lot of people don't know, right? Amazon, if you order if you order groceries off Amazon one time you order groceries off of Amazon, your average LTV as a customer for Amazon goes up to $10,000 a year. 10,000. Right. So that means like, if Amazon ever was like, hey, we're just going to point everybody towards Amazon groceries, like, we're just going to throw everybody from Twitch over there, they'd make a ton of money off of Twitch.
I mean, I was definitely that guy when I lived in the States, Devin. What can I say? Is that right? Yeah, of course. Because honestly, if you live in Los Angeles like I did, Amazon Fresh has good products at good prices that are delivered to you. And, they have their own in-house brands that are perfectly good quality right now. It's delivered to you. You're not paying, Instacart tips or anything like that. It's just brought by an Amazon driver. It's extremely easy. And obviously, if you're already on the Prime train and you're in a major city and you get same day delivery like you do in LA, like who the hell doesn't use Amazon for $10,000
instead of driving 45 minutes to Sprouts or whatever the hell? Yeah, Whole Foods.
Yeah,
and that's the thing is like Kick, the thing they did right. I mean, like ethical stuff aside, like the thing they did right was like, hey, like we can monetize this platform if we drive users up to very high LTVs. To Thorne's point, and like Twitch could have done the same thing because Amazon has those mechanisms, but like that they didn't. Like they tried through Twitch Student, like the program that was run by Garvey for a while, and that was trying to convert students up to Amazon Prime LTVs, which are quite a bit higher than like the subscription LTVs on Twitch, but it didn't work. All those guys just use their parents' accounts. They don't have any money.
Well, I mean, they try and do this. They tried to do it with the Prime subs and everything too, where they tried to get in the middle of the parasocial relationship where people want to subscribe, and so they realize, oh well, I get a free subscription in addition to all the Prime stuff, which honestly must have been a very good program for them.
It was a good idea. I would have done the same thing, but the mistake was like the Twitch viewership truly does not have very high disposable income. It turns out and they're actually just using their parents' Amazon Prime accounts. So like there was no way to like really convert those people up into high LTVs because those people don't have jobs. Was the short of it.
Yeah, I mean, I just know anecdotally from our audience here that very few people even participate in Twitch anymore, and we tend to have older people watching us and higher spenders.
Monty, if you remember 10 years ago, unironically, we had streams of Summoning Insight that got put on the front page of Twitch. Yep. That's even unthinkable now. And could, for real, have like 10K concurrent live viewers. Mm-hmm. Now, if we run the same show, we could even have any guests in the world on it, we'd be lucky to get 1,000. Like, that's just not even, because we don't do it that often. It's on a different time.
And YouTube live viewership for us is like 4x what our Twitch viewership is.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy.
I mean, I hear it all the time. I get DMs, from people who are like, I don't even go on to Twitch anymore. I don't even know if you're still streaming live. I catch your stuff when you put it up on YouTube, etc. Mm-hmm. Like, because it's like, as your audience gets older, it comes back to the whole everything's got to be a spectacle thing. It has to be an event, because otherwise, why the fuck would I be there? I got 2 kids now. I'll watch it on YouTube when I get like a quiet moment to myself. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. The whole everybody wants like this dramatic moment where Twitch like implodes like a black hole and just but it's not like that. It's exactly like that. It's like, hey, I'm 30 now. I've got a couple of kids. Like I'm married. Like, man, I'm not like really interested in this guy kind of like screaming to his mom. You don't even make that conscious decision. You kind of just bleed out. Yeah. And that's millions and millions of viewers.
Yeah.
Right.
It's definitely happened. I mean, it's quite tangible. Mm-hmm. And look, in the same way, again, just to bring it back to League of Legends, something we've all had experience with. Kids playing video games today, they don't give a fuck about League of Legends. They don't. Nope. They don't say shit like I must install that. That's a boomer game to them now.
Richard, I literally did consulting for Play Versus, where I went into high schools and I was be in like a 3,000 kid high school, and they couldn't get 5 players of any rank together to form a league team.
There you go.
Now,
really?
Rocket
I'm guessing
League,
at that time
very
it was
popular.
All Fortnite, right?
No.
Valorant,
in terms
right?
of
Valorant at that point.
Not even really Valorant, because shooters are hard in the school environment. But Rocket League is huge. Smash, surprisingly large. Hey guys, the 4 Horsemen is brought to you by Raycon, an excellent way to listen to us, your favorite esports podcast. And if you'd like to pick up some Raycons, be aware that they now have their essential open earbuds, which I'm wearing right here, that wrap around your ears. If you're not interested in a headphone going directly into your ear canal, these sit very comfortably on top and stay outside. You can jog, you can work out with them, no problem. And this Black Friday and Cyber Monday, you can save up to 30% on all Raycon audio products. So these keep your ears open while still delivering great sound. They're lightweight, super comfortable, and Raycon delivers the same premium audio quality that you're used to from the big brands, but at half the price. Add in over 3 million happy customers and a 30-day happiness guarantee. That's right. Just send them back if you don't like them, and there's zero reason to overpay. And if you're not interested in the over-the-ear design, of course, they sell standard headphones as well. These are the Raycon Everyday earbuds that go inside. They also have active noise cancellation that works great. I've worn them on planes, on buses, public transportation of all kinds, and haven't been able to hear anything at all. So, whatever you guys want, Raycon has it, especially with these big sales going on. And as you guys know, Black Friday is around the corner. Raycon audio products are up to 30% off site-wide, from everyday essentials to the latest releases. It's the perfect time to upgrade your sound or get ahead on gifting. Obviously makes a great gift, great stocking stuffer. It's the perfect time to upgrade your sound. So these deals won't last long. Shop now before they're gone. Go to buyraycon.com/horsemen, plural open. So HORSEMENOPEN. There we go. I got it. Horsemen Open to save on Raycon audio products site-wide.
Yo, what happened, you guys, to with the esports thing? What? So like I went away for a couple years, and now the whole thing is Saudi Arabia. What are we doing? I was
Wow.
like, I could read about this, or I could ask the three people that are the most knowledgeable in the fucking world about this.
The most nuts thing is they've even done exactly the right acquisitions, because the joke now of the punchline of the whole industry, Devin, is they even essentially partnered with the Esports Awards. So now people like us can't even be nominated. We don't exist.
They
because
got
we
rid of the
criticised
Journalist
them.
of the Year
And,
award.
Yeah. But
No
if
way.
you are, like,
Yeah.
if you are, of course they did. Mate, they can't have the Saudis who literally killed the journalist and then do the fucking Journalist of the Year award.
The golden
Of course,
suitcase.
it became the Who's Alive Award, didn't it? Yeah. But then the other thing is now the Esports Awards, unironically, Devin, is essentially like a Saudi regime agitprop thing where you just hand out fucking like prizes to your little minions who are in the industry. It's crazy, mate. It's nuts now. It's really nuts.
So to your point, I mean, like about how we kind of got there. When did you leave esports? Like when was
I
it
sold
roughly?
CLG in end of 2019.
Okay, and again, I don't want to pry, so forgive me.
No, I'm an open book,
Rude.
man. Yeah.
Did you do well with the sale at 29? So I guess that's pre-pandemic, right?
Yeah, that was when Madison Square Garden bought them.
Yeah.
It's public information.
Yeah.
The sale ended up being about 45 million.
Cool.
And I think we did. But
Which, by the way, it sounds incredible now.
Yeah.
Mate. That is fucking bonkers. that we get for your team.
a really important caveat, though, is that a big thing that people don't talk about with that number is there's a very big difference between primary income and secondary income. So for example, I think 10 or 12 million of that was invested back into the LCS for the franchise fee. Right. So we had to pay for that. A large portion was put into the company for potential advertising stuff. So like the actual money that we got as founders was like not as impressive. But yeah, it was around there. And then
Don't worry, Hot Shot's still set for life, guys. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, he's chilling, man. Yeah.
He deserves it.
Yeah, he does, man. Yeah, like, I still talk to him all the time. Like he's a freaking awesome dude. Like still lives in LA, just chilling. But yeah, like I think after so end of 2019, and then after that, just as a really important note, I was completely not involved with CLG. So I understand like what happened with Madison Square Garden was like really sad, like where they shut down the whole company on like a Friday and didn't tell everybody and everything like that. I understand why it happened. But I wasn't even there. I hadn't been there for years at that point. But yeah, it was at end of 2019.
Okay, so basically, what kind of happened was, right. So, as you know, esports was still, it wasn't a toxic brand. It wasn't a toxic word at that point.
Yeah.
But
so we're just getting into franchising.
Yeah, and the franchise model was being pushed a lot. And then basically what happened was, first, obviously, we go into the pandemic. That's a problem. But it turned out not to be a problem for esports. We actually grew consistently through the pandemic. We grew
because sports weren't on and everybody was
everybody, no one had anything to do. Funnily enough, when all of the late night TV shows pivoted, they were doing basically like shit Zoom calls. They were like on the tech when we started live streaming, like fucking.
They're worse than the Four Horsemen.
They would
right
have literally millionaire sports stars who didn't even have a mic; they just had the webcam.
Yeah, they were on the
nuts.
Octashape.
Like
They
a
were on the
laptop mic.
Octashape era, right? So anyway, they were doing that. So all of a sudden, our shit looked really good and really high level production, and people started. You've got more time on your hands because you can't go out. So we continued to grow, and funnily enough, we hired all through the pandemic. People kept hiring and hiring and hiring and hiring. So, okay, everything's going pretty well. Then, unfortunately, what people realized, it wasn't sustainable. A lot of projects got completed. All the people that had been cooped up indoors were now outdoors. Viewership started trending downwards. People started getting into other shit. There wasn't really any like new compelling games coming out to replace the old ones. So, like we're talking about with Twitch platforms and League of Legends and all this, people started aging out of it. And then ultimately, we had to have the market correction. So we started like laying people off. So at this point, and also there was the whole collapse of the Overwatch League, which basically said to everybody, none of this shit was real. It was all smoke and mirrors. We also had a lot of people dipping into the PPP loans to keep their businesses afloat during the pandemic as well, which a bunch of people got away with a bunch of shit there, in my opinion, but whatever. So anyway, we arrive at a point now where all of the new hires were having to lay people off. Then we're starting to realize we can't even keep the old hires on. All of people have cut corners on production and never gone back to what they were pre-pandemic. Everything's shrinking and contracting. Esports has become a toxic brand because of the collapse of a number of big properties. All franchise slots depreciate in value, whether you're Riot Games or Blast or ESL for Counter-Strike. And all of a sudden, all of the things people were banking on to essentially give their orgs huge valuations on paper.
Also, Valve killed the franchise spots in Counter-Strike.
That got took away by the developer, but another thing that can always happen. So all of these things essentially create this cascading chain of failure. And ultimately, the only way that it could be underwritten at this point, not to mention crypto went away, NFTs were hugely unpopular with the audience. Gambling sponsorships were kind of a little bit flaky for a while, but they're back now, but they're probably going to go away in 26. The bottom line is there just wasn't anyone left to conceivably underwrite esports. Then enter a tyrannical regime with a vision for 2030 to basically have complete independence from oil and own all of the entertainment portfolios and everything else that will give them cultural impact abroad. So that happened. That was MBS's vision, introduced just at the time esports was on its knees.
But anyway, Devin, you must know, you must follow some sports. Like, I don't know if it's golf or WWE. They've all eventually taken this out. Are you not aware of that?
Really?
Believe it or not.
The golf deal collapsed, fortunately. They didn't end up taking it.
So this is all the Saudi sovereign wealth fund, and is the whole push of it essentially is the whole idea basically to drive younger?
It's all sports washing. It's a mixture of sports washing, as in when we pay you, you won't speak out about our human rights things when we do business with you.
Right. And but is the ultimate goal just to drive
tourism and stuff?
Is the ultimate goal just to drive people to like Dubai to like visit and like or potentially leave there?
Yes. They want to have all the sports there. That's what they're going to do with esports. They want all the finals there.
More importantly, domestically, Saudi Arabia has a very young population. Like something like 68% of the population is like fucking, I don't know, under 40 or something, maybe under 35. It's very young. So, they have lots of kids out there. So basically, you've got this young you got this young community of people coming up, and they want all the cool jobs that they could have in the West. They want to work in tech. They want to work on video games. They want to see WWE.
By the way, along the lines of what Richard's saying, they did. Do you know the concept in China? If you do business in China, you can't really yourself do it. You have to have a regional partner that has to like have partner. Essentially, it's the same thing. If you then do some of your business with the Saudis, magically you have to like bring a guy on your board, and then you have to bring.
You have to hire X number of Saudis and have a Saudi Arabian office.
So,
but it's also
created a bunch of jobs as well domestically, which they want, because while all this was happening, the big impetus behind it was what happened in Iran, where the morality police that they had out there, they were involved in that killing of that young girl, and the people rioted and protested, and it looked pretty shaky for a while, but then we abandoned them in the West, and we didn't even report it in the media. That would have been the time to do the soft coup, by the way, guys. Great, missed our window. And then, a few years later, we're fucking lasering people, and Israel are bombing them, but fine. But yeah, so obviously there was some anxiety among the Saudi royal family. Like, if we don't give this young, restless community all of the things that they want, then there is a chance that shit could happen to us. They got rid of the morality police by the way, as well.
Yeah.
In Saudi.
So has Riot capitulated to this basically in a sponsorship
100%.
sense?
Totally.
Yes. So, Devin, now they are allowing EWC, the Esports World Cup, owned by the Saudis, to be advertised on Valorant and League of Legends broadcasts. So they take the money because the Saudis
It was
pay
literally
them.
a sponsor of MSI. Put it out.
Yeah.
It was one of the sponsors of MSI.
Wow.
And they pay
Okay.
them a licensing fee to use the games at Esports World Cup. So Riot, Valve, everybody is completely in bed with the Saudis.
I
Now,
did a story, Devin.
Ubisoft.
I did a story
Epic.
where I got internal Slack chats leaked to me where they have these things called the Rainbow Rioters, which are like the leaders of the LGBT riot staff. And, they're the go-to point of contact for any issues within the company. And they were gaslighting all of the LGBT employees at Riot as to why it's a good thing we're working with Saudi Arabia, a country where, of course, they would be persecuted / executed for if they displayed their immutable traits outwardly, because Twisted Fate is canonically gay and he might get picked at a tournament. So,
Character.
checkmate
there's-
bigots.
There's several things that are going on here. So it's like, obviously, like they say, the job creation in Saudi Arabia, it's the sports washing. It's also that they trying to keep the money in Saudi Arabia, because if you are young in Saudi Arabia and you want to do something fun, you got to leave Saudi Arabia, right? Who the hell wants to stay? So these people who have a lot of money from oil are like just piecing out of the country and
give you an
spending a
example
bunch of money other
of a
places.
very recent one. One of the most recent ones, actually, people watching this show, you'll have heard us talk about the esports side a million times. Here's one you might not know. As in what Richard's saying about bringing the West and all the lights and baubles and shiny things we have and saying to the Saudi Arabian public, they're yours now. You can watch WWE live in Riyadh. Bro, do you know recently they had a comedy festival?
Yeah,
where
Kevin Hart.
They paid all the people who would criticize, Trump, people like that. They were getting like 6-figure payouts to go out there. And people like the Bill Burrs this word who were all woke, they were just going there and taking the bag, mates. Yeah. Absolutely.
And
then
Bill
the
Burr
Mr.
said
Beast.
it's the best thing he'd done in ages. He was like,
I remember that.
Yeah, he like on his podcast going, what I realized when I was out there was we were laughing and joking. They're just like us, so fuck it. It's a good thing I went. It's like,
And then there's the Mr. Beast thing,
Yep,
right?
yeah,
Like
yep.
he
The
built that
Mr. Beast
entire
amusement
theme park.
It's a temporary one, but yeah. But here's the other thing,
I didn't know
Devin,
that.
is
Okay.
that it's going to be there not forever, but yeah, it's part of a larger project. But here's the other thing is that, with the rise of co-streaming, the Saudis also bought all the co-streamers. So some of them used to refuse to do it. But then, Devin, they started offering high 6-figure payments for 5 days of streaming. So people were legit getting paid. You'll love this as an advertiser. And by the way, this is how you know the whole thing is evil, because this rate is so absurd that these people feel like they have to take it. But by taking it, you're engaging in sports washing, because, Devin, they also make you delete all tweets or other instances that you have ever criticized Saudi Arabia in the past.
Wow.
So they retroactively scrub all of your criticism, prevent you from criticizing in the future. And some of these people, Devin, are legit.
Yeah, by the way, your boy Doublelift was in on this, mate.
Yeah.
What he did was,
he took
the first time any of this happened was that Neon thing, which was right at the end, just after you left, basically, where Neon was going to sponsor LEC.
Yeah.
It's a project for a mega city by the Saudis.
Yeah.
And at the time, because it was just a tiny thing that was sponsoring LEC and didn't interact with the rest of us, loads of people dunked on it like lol. So Doublelift did a tweet famously that just quote tweeted and said, "Human rights violation hype. Are you ready for the punchline?" This year, Doublelift himself works with the Saudis directly as a partner
Went to Riyadh.
of the same people who were behind the Neon project. Because
literally
they
flew to Riyadh to promote the event. He has been on a worldwide tour with them. He was at the World Finals this year in China as a representative of the Esports World Cup. And what's funny, Devin, is if you look at his Twitter, every time he has anything, the only response is,
unsurprisingly.
the only responses to anything he tweets now are human rights violation hype.
He
gets
did
lit
throw
up.
my jersey in the dumpster and go to TSM. but to be honest,
That was the first sign he was evil.
but to be honest, man, I'm kind of just like I'm okay with him getting his bag. Like there have been so many people in the esports community that just faded into non-existence, and he's like one of the very few people that was able to stay relevant. And I guess to stay relevant, this is where we're at.
No, he doesn't have to do this to stay relevant. If anything, Devin, this is a quick this is a quick bag that is damaging his brand. Like
to stay wealthy.
I don't know about that, you see, Monty, because I don't think Double Lift ever really stands for anything.
All right. Well, I want to get mired in the Double Lift.
He doesn't.
Devin, what you have to know.
Yeah, I think
what you have to know, Devin, is that people were so esports.
I just think he's gonna chase opportunity if opportunity is there, regardless of the ethical concerns. He's gonna go for it. That happened to us. I think it's probably happening here. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but my point is that people are now getting paid. Co-streamers in games are now getting paid sometimes over $100,000 per day to co-stream Esports World Cup events, which makes no sense.
For how many hours? Like how many hours is that?
8.
Yeah, so 8 hours. What's their viewership like?
Depends on the person.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter. EWC aren't. They're not. They don't
the point is nobody's fucking getting paid $100,000 a day by anybody else to co-stream an event. Because by the way, Devin, you still make all the same money you would by co-streaming. So this is government
money. I mean, like this is like we're seeing in politics too, right? Like where they're paying certain influencers on both sides.
Yeah, sure.
Like this is crazy. Like, but to hear, I think the biggest thing for me from what you guys are telling me, that to hear that Riot and like the major game publishers are kind of like literally government funded, like foreign government funded, is fucking nuts.
Yep.
That's such a huge difference from where we were at in 2020.
And by the way,
just 5 years.
This has been our criticism, is that the publishers and the developers could literally just turn this off tomorrow because they own the IPs.
Yes.
But instead of just saying
that's why it's so shocking to me.
It's not only that they let them run the game, it's that they take licensing fees from the government, the Sovereign Wealth Fund, and they're buying advertising on the broadcasts that aren't a part of the Esports World Cup. So the sports washing is obviously huge.
But then they're turning around and saying, "Oh, we're like an inclusive company, and like we are like very supportive in the culture, and like
And
like
here's Pride Month."
Yeah. Exactly.
I will say this, right?
That's crazy.
So as you can imagine, Devin, I was a total asshole about the Pride Month stuff because they were like.
By the way, as a guy who loves it in marketing, though, you'll love this, mate.
Yeah,
this is very funny.
Did to the
so because I'm not even a journalist now, I'm just a glorified shit poster. So I created this thing called Operation Pride Before a Fall, right? And what we did was we looked at all of the things they'd done in the first year they joined Saudi to celebrate Pride, and then we looked at all of the things they did in the second year to celebrate Pride. And unsurprisingly, Devin, there wasn't a lot of pride, right? And they were even doing things like it was like there was something else like Happy Father's Day or like Happy PTSD for Veterans Day. They were doing anything but mention Pride.
The short version is Pride literally went from a month to a day in esports.
Yeah, totally.
Wow. If anything.
And you know, that was always the concern when they came in, because everyone was telling me, and this is the meme, that, you know, hey, women drive over there. So I've just abbreviated that to they drive now. And that's what a lot of people rationalize taking the Saudi bag on the basis that I'll look like a fool in 10 years when Saudi is actually a utopian paradise where everybody can come together and it won't matter whether you're a woman or whether you're gay. Hey,
Richard, if that happens, I'm happy to reevaluate my perspective on the Saudi Arabia. I'm totally happy to do that.
It wouldn't have helped all of the people in the interim, right? So that's where I'm at. But I mean, I'll say this, like some of the rationalization has been sickening, but at least they stopped with the pride stuff. I absolutely beat them over the head with it so bad. I mean, you have to understand as well, I also sent out approximately 250 emails to every single sponsor of every single partnered organization that was taking a stipend from the Esports World Cup, which is funded.
We didn't even mention that, by the way. All the teams are now partners of Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia offers stipends to the teams, and so that silences all the teams and their criticism of Saudi Arabia.
To have a team that enters
say you're
EWC.
someone like an example would be like Vitality, right? Vitality's huge in Counter-Strike, League of Legends. They would give you a stipend, mate, to hire someone for StarCraft.
That's the only way they're going to survive. Like, because Riot's not going to give it to us. So
Yeah,
true.
exactly.
Yeah. Like,
So
yeah,
I got a
That's
DM.
crazy.
I got a DM from like Sam Matthews, and it was like, our sponsors, really? This is the lowest of the low, and I'm just like, I think taking money from a regime that imprisons women's rights activists and kills gay people.
Some would say he walked into that
lowest
one.
of the low. but and then he was like linking me Wikipedia pages, like they drive now. You know, it was all that shit.
So do you guys think that the viewership corresponds to this, or do you think that's a separate issue, like the declining viewership in esports in general?
I put it this way. I don't believe the average esports fan is some sort of principled person. I think ultimately the problem a lot of legacy esports have now is, unless something is creating, again, those moments, people will tune in for like a major. People will tune in for Worlds. Like at the same time, all the LCS viewership is down. Worlds broke records again this year, and we can take Riot at face value. I'm sure they'd never lie about viewership figures. So
it also helps that Riot has gotten lucky with T1 3 years in a row now.
Yep,
like if
sure.
T1 wasn't in these finals, they wouldn't be breaking viewership records.
That's also fair. But again, that comes back to what I'm talking about, because Faker is. By the way, there's a huge problem when Faker does retire. And like I say that with all seriousness, like people tune in because he
just signed another 4-year contract, so we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah,
for a
I
while.
saw somebody talk about Faker. Faker's that really good League of Legends player, isn't he? No, he's not just good. Bro's the GOAT, man. And then it's like, oh well, shit, is he in the world final? That feels like a happening. I might go and watch that. So we the big events generally tend to still do really good viewership. It's just all the other stuff, the kind of detritus that's downstream. It's not very exciting. It's not very sexy.
I see.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
not creating these like memorable moments, these iconic storylines. So people don't really tune in for that,
There's still a caveat that I have no advertising spend in China, but I have no experience in this. But I've heard they're crushing in Asia, right? China is like where a huge amount of the viewership is. Is that right?
CS,
Honestly,
CS
Chinese
has had
viewers-
a huge breakout as well in China recently. Yeah.
Chinese viewership in LoL is way down, actually, Devin.
Way down?
Yeah. So RNG and Fun Plus Phoenix just folded their teams entirely.
That's true.
Whoa.
By the way, the crazy thing about China is they're basically, from their government, slowly killing esports. Like they don't allow young people to play, they don't promote it, etc. So there's all sorts of weird shit going on, mate.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, I've seen videos of like people calling out like League of Legends, like entire apartment complexes, like I don't know what the validity of that is. I have no knowledge of this.
It definitely has got viewership has gone down pretty significantly in LPL, and part of that has been that the Korean dominance has returned. Like there was a period of time in like 2018, 2019, 2020 where the LPL teams were much more competitive. Basically the Chinese teams have just been straight up getting their ass kicked at internationals for like the last 4 or 5 years now.
I see.
And so that is heavily demoralized the Chinese viewership, I think. And also it's just League is getting to be an older game. I mean, that's just how it is. The game is 16 years old now.
Yep.
Young people don't play it. The Chinese government is literally stopping young people from playing the game by putting all kinds of controls on making an account. So if you're underage, you can't do it, or you can't play at certain hours, right? So there's and even in Korea, I can tell you, I'm in Korea right now, right? There are no young people playing League of Legends in Korea. That's how it is.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, on to the next shit. And this is going to be an interesting time, actually, for esports in general, because all the Saudi shit aside, well, actually, no, we can't put that aside, because they also own major stakeholdings in every major games developer now. I think they just pretty much took over, like, fucking...
They just bought EA.
EA, right? I think they're having a long, hard look at Ubisoft. They got massive amounts of shares in Nintendo.
They're going to compete with Tencent though, right? Which owns like
Blizzard.
pretty much.
Yeah, well, also, I mean, they did some deal with fucking Tencent as well, right? Where I think the Saudi they put some money into like some fucking esports company. The whole thing's crazy. So it's like, anyway, we're waiting on that next new wave of good esports games. Like, where
is that? Yeah, because that's another conversation, right? It's like outside of Valorant, what do we really have competitively, even in the horizon?
Well, no,
right?
the problem is, Devin, is nobody's ever been able to predict the new esports game because it's dependent on technology. We didn't, and the thing is that the hot new game, which tech enabled, was BR, where you could have 100 people in a server together, but that didn't translate well into esports.
Nope.
So
And
the problem is
the next trend,
also,
which is extraction shooters, I don't think will either.
Currently,
No.
yeah.
So
I hope they
pro-
don't. I don't want them to fuck up Arc Raiders. It's the most fun I've had playing video games for fucking a long time. It's actually enjoyable.
Arc Raiders is an insanely good game. It's actually crazy. Yeah.
So a lot of the genres that have come out, but here's the other thing that people don't really consider is that basically since RTS, every esports genre was a mod of a different game that was created by the community. Like tax shooters came from Counter-Strike, which was a Half-Life mod. Dota was a Warcraft 3 mod. So, but we don't have that. Like, I think the real question is where we should probably be looking for the next esports titles like Fortnite Creative, Minecraft,
Like Roblox type shit? Like
Roblox.
Roblox, by the way, just huge, right? Like player base. I partnered with an agency that does
Roblox.
Yeah, I partnered with an agency that does advertising in Roblox, and like brands have their own worlds. Like Nike has a world there you can go visit, and and they're like it's really crazy from an advertising perspective.
My point is that esports, the biggest esports genres have been like the infinite monkeys at infinite typewriters, and like one emerges from a mod. Most
I
PUBG
guess
PUBG also came from a mod, right?
Like you said, Monty, it's like we're 16 years into League of Legends. Is it a fair statement to say that like maybe esports as we knew it before is kind of done?
Sure.
Like they're just,
or at least it's plateaued and it's sort of rolling back.
Well, I mean, like we're not gonna see another League of Legends style game like that. Like is that a?
I mean, I don't think that's fair to say because like there's always going to be
an interesting detail that very recently happened. Monty, is it was literally implied. I forget who, some streamer said this, that they actually now might be doing a League of Legends 2, Monty, which to me is incredibly telling because if you saw what they did the last 3 or 4 years, everything they did was almost like on some Apple shit of like, let's get off the Apple II and onto the Macintosh. It was all like, let's get out of League and into Valorant. And since Valorant has never hit the heights of League, I think they've realized League is the golden goose, and they're going to try and people are implying they're even going to not make it a new game. It'll be like CS2 to CSGO. It'll be like you transition everyone over, and that way you keep the game running, but on newer tech, etc.
So they can't get rid of the skins, right? But I said this on Summoning Insight like a year ago. They were already internally showing the new League of Legends engine. It just got delayed. That's why that producer on LoL was like, 2025 is going to be the year that League changes forever. Total lie. But they were planning on dropping the new engine this year. It just hasn't happened. But the problem is that a new engine is not going to solve the fundamental issues of League of Legends, which is that it's not cool. It's entirely unapproachable to a new, if somebody's starting, I started in League in 2009, maybe 2008. I was in there in the beta. But there were 30 champions. There's 160 now. Like the barrier to entry is so insane.
I think as of today, right now, because I asked this earlier while I was streaming before this, someone told me it's 172.
Jesus, man, that's crazy. And they all have different skins. But Monty, you see a world where a game fills up stadiums like League did in 2015.
Look, it's just like there's going to be something that comes out that is a great spectator sport eventually.
But it's been 16 years.
Sure.
Yeah.
Where is it?
But my counter argument is, well, first off, League is still
and Monty's point's correct.
But I'm talking about the new thing. Yeah.
No, here's the problem. As Monty pointed out, every single giant esports game that transformed the industry came as a mod of a different game. In the modern day, they pulled up the ladder bit. You can't mod these games.
Also,
remember, you might remember this, bro. You might remember from over 10 years ago.
Yeah, I have 5,000 hours in WC3. Like, I know.
Do you remember that a guy famously actually made a better version of the League of Legends client than Riot? But yeah, there you go. And it was way better, right?
Yeah.
And all Riot did was just shut him down.
Heroes of New Earth was basically that. I mean,
in the modern day, the genius move would have been to hire that guy to be on your dev team and then build it out and make it better. But they didn't. They pulled up the ladder, unfortunately.
There are still places. I mean, this is where Minecraft and Roblox and Fortnite Creative come in. These are actually the places where, people are cooking right now. And like those are the places you should probably be looking for the next esport. That's where it will happen, if anywhere, in my opinion.
That's a good take. Yeah.
But But
By
yeah,
the way,
we
it's
just
even the
gonna
same
have
with
to wait.
gaming itself. Sure, yes, you have the giant devs that make the big titles and the sequels, but then you have some random guy like Palworld just gets made out of nowhere, and these things go from nothing to the biggest shit ever.
That's the thing is like gaming itself feels very healthy. We've got like really good titles coming out of the indie section. We've still got AAA doing well. Like everything
Great
seems to be good,
remakes
but
as well.
great remakes. There's and like this year has been insane for games. This like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Arc Raiders, like it's just been insane. Expedition 33, which came from like a team of like 4 people, right?
Well, it's if it's even like the mid-tier studios who are in like the $30 to $60 million games, which is like Expedition 33, Ghost of Yote, Hades 2, that are crushing it.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is like 0%, and I literally mean 0% of this is translating to esports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is
Why?
that the new models and the new tech, like with BR, didn't translate into a good viewership experience.
I mean, like there'll be something. I just don't know what it is. People are flirting with the idea as well that fucking RTS is going to have a renaissance. We're gonna run
I've been waiting for
back.
that for 20 years.
Yeah, same dude.
By the time that shit happens,
I want more RTS competitively, but even I will not say that. I think
by the time that shit happens, I'm gonna not have hands. I'm gonna be in the old folks' home, man. I'm gonna be
That's
crippled.
like a lap dancer saying she's into you. You fucking hear that so many fucking times. And it's not true, but maybe it is because we've got a bunch slated. Also, as well, while we're here, because you were talking about Roblox, I know it's really good for advertisers at the moment, but they've been hit with a bunch of fucking lawsuits over them not doing enough to keep child predators off the platform. And there was a quote today, I think it was, I saw, it was this week anyway. He was asked, like, what are you going to do about the problem of predators on Roblox? And he said, we don't think of it just as a problem, but also as an opportunity about how to build better spaces for young people to hang out. I'm like, yeah, that quote, that's going to get taken out of context. That's not great.
Got to learn what their method is. That's the thing.
So, yeah. But Roblox is huge. I mean, it's like, but whether or not it can produce an esport. I saw they had a version of Counter-Strike on there.
By the way, you're also talking around another key issue here, which is in the modern day, Devin, no esport is grassroots. You don't really have LAN parties. In the modern day, esports is top down. The game dev puts the millions in, then the teams come when they can make money from the digital and from the spot. So the real problem you also have is, even like in this example, the real joke is, why isn't Roblox an esport? Why isn't Roblox as big as CS? It should be.
I actually have one for you,
It's got the player base, but it doesn't have any esports.
I actually have one for you. It's GeoGuessr.
You're actually right. Yeah, that's actually.
You know where they fucked themselves?
That's so true.
Here's a random detail. They're the only esports related game that said no to the Saudis.
They refused to be part of the Esports World Cup. Not
Who
only
owns
that,
GeoGuessr? Like, is that like a separate?
It's a Swedish company.
That's the interesting thing, because since they only own the game, but the maps are all done by like different people. All the map makers said we won't be involved with this because they didn't want the human rights thing.
Yeah, they
That's actually the only
sabotaged their own
instance
maps.
of like
They sabotaged their
people
own maps
basically
so they
stand it
wouldn't
up.
work, the competitive maps. So,
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was a good story.
Yeah, they were very
Yeah, you're right.
base.
GeoGuessr, man, that's nuts.
There you go.
Wow.
I wish it was a bit bigger because it's like.
By the way,
cool
you know
idea,
what I'll never be able to handle as well, because that isn't my shit at all. I would never even watch the stream. That just doesn't hit my niche. What I don't get about GeoGuessr is, as far as I can tell, it's a competitive version of when those nerds on 4chan found Shia LaBeouf's flag.
Yes.
It's like, what even is this? That's also why. Mate, there might be a new esport, but if it's that shit, I won't be there. I'll be the fucking boomer.
But between that reference and saying Groiper 786 out loud, like
I'm bringing all the cultural
I wonder
fucking
what
cachet to this
website
show.
you're falling asleep reading.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
You know what I mean?
You don't want to see my For You page, homie.
Right. So anyway, I guess we can start putting a pin in it. This is where Monty swoops in and wraps it all up in a neat little bow, tying all of the topics together in a fantastic.
I don't know. Anybody got
summary.
final thoughts? It's really interesting to hear about some of these metrics on the Twitch Viewbot. I think we should probably, after all of this, say like, Devin, because our audience is going to care about the Twitch Viewbotting. Do you think Twitch is going to do anything about this, or
Will
is
they
this
fire
just...
Dan Clancy?
No.
I don't think this is like the number one question I get all the time, right? Like, yeah, I don't think, unless they run into the congressional problem where they actually have real political pressure, and like it's like I don't think Dan's an engineer. If you look at his background and look what he's doing, he's building IVS. He was hired as an engineer. He's doing his job pretty well from that perspective. I understand he's like on the community side, just bombing basically as fast as you can go, escape velocity. But yeah, from an engineering perspective, I think he's doing what Amazon wants him to do. I think Twitch is doing what Amazon wants Twitch to do as a CDN platform. And so I think we're just falling like. We're watching Twitch fall out of relevance, and everybody wants Twitch to kind of do something, but there's really nothing to do. Like it's kind of accomplishing its goals directly for Amazon, and I think it just kind of putters along in that way. There's no great failure point. There's no like destructive energy. It just kind of slowly loses relevance, which I know is not exciting and like kind of sucks, but that's where we're at with it. And then as far as like the viewbotting problem, Twitch is between a rock and a hard place, and that they would have to be more honest with us as advertisers to demonstrate how they are solving the IVT, the invalid traffic problem, because they're not transparent with the agencies whatsoever. And they don't, this is a really controversial thing, especially to end on, but like, I'm just going to say, I think it's totally legal and fine to say this. Like my opinion as an advertiser, I'm not like trying to state a fact, but my opinion as an experienced advertiser spending money on Twitch is that a large percentage of the monetized ad views are fake, meaning that I am spending money to advertise to viewers that aren't there via Twitch. And I believe that at least at the highest levels of Twitch, they are conscious of this. And so I'm trying to be very careful with this. I could be wrong, right? Like it's not a factual statement, whatever, but like just based on my experience. And I think that if Twitch is telling me that 30 to 40% of my viewership is monetized, and it's not, it's not real views, there is no solution until we bridge that gap and we have that conversation between the advertisers and Twitch. I don't know where that goes. So people say like what is there to do about the Twitch viewbotting situation? Well, they made changes that cut the way that we regard views, and it was resulted in about a 10 to 15% drop in the total viewership on the website. I thought that was a really good change. But it was to appease advertisers because they were getting nonstop phone calls about that. But we need to go further, and it comes down to like, is Twitch willing to cut another 20 to 30% of the viewership on the website and to represent real views, and to have all of the PR and all of the problems that are going to come from that, to be honest with advertisers? I don't know the answer. I don't think they are. I don't think they're willing to do it. I think it's too crazy. Look at the pushback they're getting from just like some of the small streamers. Like, hey, like 10% of my viewership is gone. I had 100 viewers. Now I have like 30. Right? Like, are you going to remove the embeds? Like, this is just so much of a can of worms that it comes down to like, I just don't even think the people at Twitch at the highest levels are either incentivized to do this because they're on the engineering side, or capable of doing it even if they were. So I think we just see more of the same.
I mean, so your advice is, if for people in this scene, is just to go back to the multi-streaming and actually build a real funnel. Because I think you've had some interesting advice about all of that, which is that bashing your head against the wall as a new streamer on Twitch or a new content creator is like the worst thing you can possibly do. You should be building the
worst
funnel.
thing you can do.
Like, it's one thing if you are known to go live on Twitch and people will come in, but that's the end state. That's not the discovery state.
By the way, there's also no way to get people from other ways. Like, back in the day, you just drop a tweet. I'm going like, well, now Twitter doesn't work that way. Twitter's an algo as well, levels on for you. So no one sees that tweet anymore, mate.
That's why I said streaming on there is actually the best advertising.
Notice the other thing, because everything's an algorithm now, it no longer matters how many followers and subs you have. That used to guarantee you a certain level. Now that's irrelevant.
Right.
Like the joke is the guy who's a brand new YouTube channel can get in the algo and get 200k views. I can have 250k subs and get 1k views,
I think if you're a content creator, the best thing you can do is invest in top funnel discovery via long form video. Another way to say that is you just make long form videos. You just make YouTube videos. Short form is.
Let me give you an example of this recently from LFN. So we just started a new LFN gaming channel. So we're pushing into general gaming, right? And what we did was we released a video that is about Ghost of Yotei and historical accuracy in the game. It's 12 and a half minutes long. Totally new channel. And if you make good content, the algorithm will pick it up. We have done no advertising for this effectively. We have all in the time since it's been released, about a week, we did around 20,000 views on this video, which is not a lot for YouTube, but for
I think that's a lot.
cold ass channel. And the thing about this is the way the algorithm works is like we have a very good click-through rate. We have very good viewer retention on this video. And the thing is, it's on a slow burn. And this video in a few months may hit 50, 100,000 on a channel that is brand new. So if you make good content, and the algorithm will pick it up and put it in the right places. It takes time because on new channels, the algorithm's like figuring out who the audience for this is, who to serve it up to. So it's not fast, especially compared to our established channels. Like 20K is nothing for us, really. Like we can slap an episode down and get 20K in the first 10 hours. You know what I mean? This show will get way more than 20,000 viewers. But my point is that the algorithms are so good now that over time, as it identifies that audience and it keeps serving that video up, if you have an evergreen piece of content, like for the most part, you'll be very successful.
Yep. And I think that another mistake that a lot of content creators are doing is they're investing too heavily into short form. And they see like when short form works, like for someone like Pirate Software, for example, like it works very well. But
short
like
form has been ass for us. I will tell you that.
It's really bad. Yeah. It turns out it's ass for like everybody. It's like ass for advertisers, everything's that. And it's also, since Google implemented VO3, the AI engine into shorts, like there's we could have a whole podcast about this, but it's my opinion that YouTube is currently under existential threat from AI, like in the sense that, and not in the way that people understand it to be. It's under existential threat because of the way that the algorithm works, right? The advertisers. So a lot of people don't know that, like on YouTube, we have a content creator drought. We need more creators. The people that watch YouTube is way, way more per hour viewed than the number of people creating consistent content. So they're like,
which is the opposite of Twitch, where there's like
it's the exact opposite. Yeah, where the streamer ratio is 26-1. Exactly. Yeah, Monty. Yeah, it's 100% correct. So on YouTube, we need creators. But what happens when like you could literally prompt a 3 or 4 minute or an 8 minute video with a sentence and then upload it, is that ratio basically breaks the discoverability engine and breaks the advertising engine, and CPMs distribute, the fill rates go down. Like it's like a nightmare situation. And luckily, people internally at YouTube are thinking about this very hard. Like they're really, really trying to solve it because they understand how what a big problem it is. And literally the smartest people I know in the industry right now are trying to figure this out. But in the meantime, for the next, like, I don't know how long it's going to be, a year or two, it's like literally the best time ever to be a content creator ever. Right? Like, and like Monty said, you can make a long form video, get 20,000 views, and then it's evergreen content 6 months later pops off at 250,000 views or whatever. Yes. And that's monetizing you through the whole way. And you can CTA that audience down into something like Patreon or something else that you want to do.
It's also the way the algorithm works is once it identifies your audience, it's going to serve future videos up to that. So, you get traction faster.
Yeah.
So honestly, like, having some of this content and knowing how to play the YouTube game, but long form content is the way to go because that's what YouTube wants. It's going to promote it more because you have higher average view durations on it, which YouTube wants because it wants people to stay on the platform.
And we as advertisers like it more too.
Sure.
Because we can display
it's a more engaged
ads
audience. Yeah. But also, long form content is going to be the hardest thing for AI to replace. Is the other aspect of it.
You know what's really funny is going all the way back around. Ironically, I think that live streaming, like a guy sitting there like live streaming, is probably one of the most AI proof things. Like it's really hard to duplicate, right? Yeah. So like I think that comes after long form video as well.
I mean, this podcast would be very, very difficult in the near term for AI to replicate.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. Like I've seen some pretty scary stuff coming, and I think it will be indistinguishable. Like I think you could spin up a Devin Nash or a Monte Cristo to talk for like a couple of hours, and I think we'll reach a point where that's indistinguishable. And I don't know what we do in that ecosystem.
I mean, I think everything's fucked once we get to that point. So.
Yeah, but I think we're going to be there sooner than we think.
Have you? Please tell me you've seen the AI podcast, the Poo Poo Pee Pee AI podcast. Oh my god! So
check it out.
Somebody put in right? They basically they put in a giant Word document. It just says poo poo pee pee over and over and over and over and over again. And then they got an AI to generate two people discussing the contents of the document in the most boring generic podcast formula imaginable. So it's like two fucking AIs going, but what did he mean when he said poo poo pee pee? And it's an hour long. They've made a real podcast of this and put it on YouTube.
In talent agencies, we're starting to see this is like really, really recent stuff. We're starting to see situations where the AI influencers being made of like take like an Amaranth or something like that who or Joe Rogan who advertises a product and it's like 1-to-1. And the thing is, to us, like, you know, we're initiated, like we would be able to see that and be like, oh, like it's a little bit off, or there's an uncanny valley. I did a really interesting Instagram ad spend where I spent 50% AI Instagram accounts, 50% real Instagram accounts. The difference in engagement between the two was higher on the AI accounts. Nobody knew the difference. Right. So I was advertising on AI girl influencer accounts. This is for a dating app, and so like the AI girl accounts were just doing video, doing normal pictures with CTAs to the dating app with the creator code. They perform better than the real ones.
Grim.
Yeah, it's scary, man. I'm not sure where that goes. But I you know, one thing I've really been thinking about the last couple of days, throughout all of human history, we never had like content creation, right? Like there was never like the news, the information was controlled by the state. People couldn't fucking read. And then we like reached this point with TV and everything where it was like the networks. And then like finally in these last few years, we broke out and we could have like YouTube channels and we could have like these podcasts and stuff like this. Like, let's just get it while it's good. Like, I don't know how much longer this exists for, because like at some point we don't know what's real. Shit gets fucking crazy. Yeah. So I'm just glad we have this now and I can be here, man.
I think people will always crave the authenticity and what's real.
And there's going to be a market for like identifying that and bringing it back. It might be a new website. It might be a place where like I know that Jack Dorsey right now is working on a human like a human short form. Like he's trying to do a platform like Vine where it's only humans.
Jack Dorsey's trying to atone for selling fucking.
But what I will say
he's
is
back from his ayahuasca trip.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference between, you know, if you want to be a content creator, now is the time to do it, because, you know, if the authenticity thing comes into play, well, you better already be established. You better already be established so people know who the fuck you are, because otherwise, if you're starting later, you actually will be indistinguishable from AI personalities, right? Whereas if you're already established as a personality, so now's the time to do it, is what I would say.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that like already in gaming we're like, is this AI? And it's like, oh no, it was created 4 years ago, so it can't be. Like, you know, like it's like there's like a cutoff point where it's like information kind of got weird. Yeah, it's the best time to be a content creator for sure, 100%.
Just not on Twitch.
Well, just not. Well, I mean, look, it's great to be on Twitch if you're already huge on Twitch.
I wish people would stop. I mean, I think anybody that's streaming 8 hours a day, grinding on that is just probably not listening to this or anything that we like, you know. And so I know it kind of like falls on deaf ears, but I know there's a lot of people on this. If you are a content creator, man, like make long form, do what Monty's saying. Like don't sit on Twitch and expect those viewers to come. It's not a top funnel platform. It doesn't
also
work that way.
An hour of your time is better spent doing a video like that than streaming to two people on Twitch.
You could quite literally go on a street corner and hand out 3x5 cards about like whatever you're doing, and you would get way more discoverability than if you ran an 8-hour stream. Dress up as a chicken and go to a popular supermarket and stand outside, and if you don't get caught by the police, you'll be way better off as a top discoverability funnel. Yeah.
Yep.
That's scary, but true. All right. Well, with that, guys, we'll leave it. I know this episode hasn't been the most about esports per se, but hopefully
it was nice to educate Devin about what he's missed. It was nice.
Bro, I'm completely in the dark. I can't believe it. I come back and everything's Saudi Arabia now. That we're in the desert.
Yeah.
What the hell happened?
Yeah.
But I appreciate it because I was like, you know, at some point, like some months ago, I was like, man, I'm going to do some reading on this and figure it out. And I'm like, you know what? Like once Monty reached out to me, I was like, okay, I've got an opportunity to ask like the three most fucking knowledgeable people in the world about this. Yeah, and I got a great answer. So this is
the irony, though, is that a lot of the companies that thought it was going to be the golden ticket to spend, Saudi turned around after 1 year and went, this esports business is whack. We're going to whip you all into shape. and they've all had to make
Yeah,
mass
ESLs
layoffs.
had layoffs.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they.
So do
didn't
you
even
guys
get
still
to go
cover
into-
it as individuals?
Yeah, my
Or-
Substack's
I know, like,
yeah.
pretty good and stuff. And
Okay.
then obviously we got this podcast that we do, and we're all hanging in the pocket. It's just the difference now is where we were essentially esports evangelicals. Now, and I can't speak for Duncan and Monty, but I just want it to be destroyed and rebuilt.
I mean, this is literally the only
You're on your Joker
esports
arc.
thing
Yeah,
I do
totally.
anymore. This show is.
But it's weird. People say
designed to run
this
the
as a diss to me. If you actually cynically look at my own personal brand model, I'm essentially a betting fucking affiliate who then also does esports with the money I get from it. Like, that's the joke of it. Esports is just the draw, but betting sponsors my main draw. Whereas it used to all be from like directly from working events or YouTube or stuff like that, wasn't it?
Devin, I would say like, LFN, this company is doing fine.
Yeah, I
you know
know.
what I
Yeah.
mean. But we're completely independent, and yes, we cover esports.
And we're sort of directly using that as our marketing kick. Like, we aren't the Saudi ones. We're the ones who didn't
Yes.
take the bag. That's kind of our
Last
niche
Free
as well.
Nation turned out to be incredibly
Yeah.
prescient.
It did. It was
And
just
the-
supposed to be a cool name before.
And the Empire is not
Yeah.
a fan of you guys, right? Like
No.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
but the point is like, we're not an esports company, we're a media company. We're a podcast company. And so nobody, unlike other esports businesses where esports has become a bad word and sponsors don't want to get involved, we're not attacking those budgets. We're just podcast budgets. So
Understood.
it's like, we're not really affected.
We're on the
and
advertiser
so-
side. we're like, we don't want you to spend money over there either. Like, fuck that noise,
I respect you guys for keeping it real. I'm sure every one of you, in fact, I know every one of you has had an opportunity to take the bag. And one of the very few people that didn't.
The Saudis tried to fund our company.
I think
Really?
I think we turned down 6 million in Saudi money.
No, it's not that much, but
I'm pretty sure it was 6 million.
I mean, like over time, cumulatively, I mean, it could have added up. But the point is, I mean, you guys stayed real, but like at the end of the day, when the buck comes due, people remember that.
Well, let's
Hopefully.
hope so. Probably gonna need it when we're all fucking homeless. So
don't think that's gonna happen either.
yeah, like when you see me on a GoFundMe and I'm like, like that, just remember that I did do some cool stuff. I never wrote
It's
a
like
bad
Thorin
article
said,
about
I'll
CLG.
toss the 100 just so you can keep creating that shit.
Yeah, exactly. I never wrote a bad article
All right.
about CLG. Only TS.
All right, guys, let's wrap this up. Thanks for coming, Devin.
It's a
We'll see
huge
you
honor to
for
be
the
here.
next episode of the Four Horsemen. Until then, esports till end asked.